A century ago, as spiritual energy surged, it became the world's ultimate power source. Creatures touched by this energy split into two evolutionary paths, one reviving their ancient ancestral instincts. The other branch focused on enhancing physical prowess or unleashing energy-based attacks. In human society, countless related professions emerged. A phone screen flashed titles like Spirit Beast Observer with 37 million followers and Spiritual Material Analyst with 69 million fans. As more info scrolled, Lin Yuan paused at ads warning about ghost shadow bites and tempting deals for spare companions priced at $999.998 with a chance at top-tier treasures. Lin Yuan felt it all had nothing to do with him, calmly advising, "Stay calm, drink warm water, and avoid smelly corpses." Suddenly, a heavy presence and scorching breath pressed down. "So freaking hot!" Lin Yuan complained. The creature before him showed unusual cleverness. It was a 100-question beast. It nimbly climbed onto Lin Yuan's head when questioned. It lazily replied that higher places were cooler. Lin Yuan frowned. After all, it wasn't much higher anyway. The beast sprang up, pushed the door open, stood in the breeze, and began grumbling. "There's one now! Don't forget your medicine!" it chirped, and Lin Yuan nodded in acknowledgement. As the door shut, Lin Yuan introduced himself while cleaning, an 18-year-old owner of a tiny spirit pet shop, far removed from the wonders of spiritual cultivation. Frail since childhood, he completely lost the ability to sense spiritual energy at 12, making self-improvement or high-level contracts impossible. His gaze lingered on a small lily plant despite shading it. The heat persisted, and the 100-question beast remarked it was nearly dried out. He pitied the plant, a low-level healing spirit flora with virtually no competitive advantage, even worse than livestock feed. Lifting the pot, Lin Yuan reflected that since the rise of spiritual energy, spirit beasts had been strictly ranked, with bronze tier and below rarely worth nurturing. Compared to higher-tier beasts, their growth potential was poor, and no 100-question beast had ever evolved in the past century. Just then, a sharp chirp came from above. Yin Yin, a small sound bird, delivered his medicine, softening Lin Yuan's expression. He mused that even contracting the lowest-tier companions, Kong Ming and Yin Yin, had given him half a month of headaches, let alone training them to evolve. Soon both sat silently before the plant-filled counter, the atmosphere heavy with quiet. Kong Ming wondered why the streets were so empty, joking that humans must love sleeping in, which annoyed Lin Yuan. Taking a deep breath, Lin Yuan called out loudly, advertising his exceptionally well-grown green radishes. Hearing the shout, a little girl turned around in surprise, telling her mother that the 100-question beast looked just like her pet, Kiki. Kong Ming immediately greeted them warmly, asking if they would like to buy some green radishes. The girl's calico cat mocked Kong Ming's rough fur and superiority, prompting an indignant puffed-up response. Refusing to back down, it challenged Kong Ming to a decisive game of rock, paper, scissors. Tension rises as Lin Yuan hugs Kong Ming, soothing it and joking that its paws can't play rock, paper, scissors, offering a breezy outing instead. Kong Ming pouts and begs Lin Yuan to buy braised pork, claiming it would boost its intelligence. Realizing the competition threat is gone, Lin Yuan looks at Kong Ming helplessly, making no promises. Walking along an empty street, Yin Yin comforts Kong Ming by praising its money-making skills, which only makes it sob harder. Sighing wistfully, Lin Yuan wishes he could sense spiritual energy, when Kong Ming suddenly alerts him to something on the left. He turns in shock to see an armored, burrowing boar near the park, suspecting trouble at a nearby farm. Kong Ming dashes forward greedily, imagining it as 50 servings of wild braised pork. Lin Yuan yanks it back, scolding that challenging the beast would be suicidal. The boar snarls fiercely, unsettling Lin Yuan since the normally docile creature shouldn't react this aggressively. Events escalate as the boar charges. Lin Yuan flees with Kong Ming while Yin Yin anxiously checks on him. Suddenly stumbling, Lin Yuan loses balance and falls, causing Kong Ming to cry out in alarm. Yin Yin vows to protect him while Kong Ming bravely but hungrily charges, shouting about delicious braised pork. Lin Yuan restrains both companions, insisting they escape since they're not ready to fight. A strange sensation spreads through his body, and a faint mysterious voice echoes in his ears. He glances aside, realizing this might be the lost bronze bracelet from his childhood. Memories resurface after being stained with his blood years ago. The bracelet vanished, and now a faint glow appears on his wrist. Raising his hand, the bracelet's light floods his body, restoring the long-lost sensation of spiritual energy. Struggling to stand, Lin Yuan notices a golden bracelet now firmly on his wrist. Seeing him safe, Kong Ming cheers with relief. As Yin Yin urgently calls for a plan, Lin Yuan senses that his limited spiritual energy is still insufficient to change the situation. The bracelet suddenly shines brilliantly, sharpening his perception. Detailed information about the charging beast appears in his mind. Armored burrowing boar, level 3 defensive type, common quality. Shocked by the data and the vast level gap with Kong Ming, Lin Yuan warns it to dodge an attack from the right. Kong Ming narrowly avoids the strike, but Lin Yuan realizes that overcoming such a disparity requires extraordinary power. Yin Yin cries out from above, and its light merges with the bracelet's glow, paralyzing the boar in pain. Lin Yuan deduces that his companions may be nearing evolution thanks to the bracelet's power. However, the boar soon roars violently again, its terrifying sound making both Yin Yin and Kong Ming tremble. Kong Ming quivers, noting that the boar's throat and roar is far more powerful than Yin Yin's. Lin Yuan steels his resolve, recognizing that even on the brink of evolution, the gap between level 1 and level 3 remains immense. As the relentless boar advances, Kong Ming reluctantly admits the overwhelming might of its braised pork, while Yin Yin anxiously asks Lin Yuan what to do next. Lin Yuan urgently tells Yin Yin to sing loudly to distract the armored burrowing boar, and it nervously agrees. The chaotic notes send the boar into confusion. Lin Yuan covers his ears, wryly amused since he's already accustomed to Yin Yin's unique singing. The boar suddenly turns, glaring fiercely at Yin Yin. As Yin Yin wobbles midair explaining its noble intent, Lin Yuan orders it to strike the boar's eyes to blind it. Regaining confidence, Yin Yin spreads its wings and declares bravely, "Watch this!" However, something goes wrong, and the previous move cannot be used again. Lin Yuan clenches his fist and slams the ground, frustration surging within him. With his spiritual power nearly depleted at this critical moment, he urges himself to hold on a bit longer. Before he finishes thinking, Yin Yin perks up, surprised to feel its strength restored. It immediately flaps its wings excitedly, shouting, "Take this!" Feathers scatter and strike the boar's eyes, prompting Lin Yuan to seize the moment and command Kongming to attack. Dodging obstacles, Kongming leaps forward confidently, declaring its readiness to act. Yin Yin and Kongming simultaneously identify the boar's weak point, its nose. Kongming rushes in, unleashing a flurry of strikes at the boar's face. As the enemy staggers, Kongming turns back eagerly, and Lin Yuan confirms their victory as the boar retreats. Before he can finish speaking, Lin Yuan collapses, causing Yin Yin and Kongming to cry out in panic. Under pressure, the armored burrowing boar quickly turns and flees. It suddenly halts upon encountering Li Shu, who, while stroking a rabbit, wonders why such a creature has appeared here. Li Shen notices a feather on the boar and realizes it belongs to Xiao Yuan's pet. Lali asks Li Shu to watch the beast while he goes to find Lin Yuan. Li Shu immediately agrees to handle the situation. As consciousness returns, Lin Yuan awakens in a familiar, mysterious space, unsure how much time has passed since his first visit. Before him floats a gigantic golden bracelet, and he smiles softly in gratitude for its timely help. The bracelet shines more brilliantly, seemingly responding to his thanks. Surveying the area of several dozen square meters, Lin Yuan suspects it to be the internal space of a spirit creature. Gazing at the bracelet, he calmly asks if this is its ability. An information panel appears. Mobius type, Mobius spirit level 1 quality, common attributes, space and mystical skills include true data, which analyzes hidden information, and the passive calm mind, enhancing mental stability and resistance to negative states. Lin Yuan reflects that true data explains his analytical ability, while calm mind likely aided Yin Yin's training. Most astonishing is the exclusive trait appearing at such a low level, a rarity bordering on legend. Reading the exclusive trait Spirit Nurturing, he learns that Mobius can house spirit beasts not exceeding its level, grows only when they level up while inheriting their initial skills, and increases its nurturing capacity with each advancement, meaning he must first cultivate low-level beasts to strengthen Mobius. Raising low-level spirit beasts consumes massive resources, and Lin Yuan's limited means make it even more challenging. He shakes his head but comforts himself, having the ability to sense spiritual power is still better than nothing and may change his future. A familiar voice, Zhang Shen, worries about his delayed awakening, prompting Lin Yuan to realize it's time to leave the mysterious space. Upon opening his eyes, Lin Yuan finds Kongming pressed against his face, anxiously meowing his name. Sitting up, he reassures Kongming with a helpless smile, teasing it for stuttering out of worry. Zhang Shen sighs in relief while the doctor offers to recheck him for reassurance. Lin Yuan initially refuses, but Zhang Shen insists since he had been unconscious for nearly 10 hours. He complies while secretly deciding to keep his contract with Mobius a secret despite Li Shu and Zhang Shen's care. As a fish swims by its data appears Qingdang Li Chang, a level 4 elite water-type carp with the skill Tail Leap, capable of restoring mental damage and stabilizing abnormal states, astonishing Lin Yuan. After confirming Lin Yuan's health, the doctor leaves and Zhang Shen gratefully thanks him. A rabbit waddles in carrying a lunchbox, cheerfully announcing mealtime. Handing over the meal, Zhang Shen sternly tells Lin Yuan it was specially prepared by Li Shu and warns him to behave. Lin Yuan responds with an awkward smile as Kongming and Yin Yin excitedly celebrate the delicious braised pork inside. Lin Yuan studies the rabbit, sensing it is far from ordinary compared to others of its kind. As this thought arises, the system immediately presents its information. Shocked, Lin Yuan realizes the rabbit is anything but a normal creature. On a deserted road, hurried footsteps and labored breathing signal that something is amiss. After days of recovery and morning runs, Lin Yuan acknowledges his body's limits and begins considering avoiding the path of combat. At that moment, Zhang Shen pushes Li Shu in a wheelchair, and he greets Lin Yuan warmly. Lin Yuan raises his thin arm, affirming that exercise is essential for good health. When he looks at Li Shu, hidden information reveals a terrifying origin: Hugu Tichang, a high-level parasite carrying toxins and mental curses. The vision of tiny parasites clinging to Li Shu's clothing chills Lin Yuan, realizing the severe and unbelievable toxicity involved. He deduces that beyond the common rank lie higher tiers, suggesting both the rabbit and Li Shu are concealing their true conditions. As Zhang Shen wheels Li Shu away, she reminds Lin Yuan to call if he needs help, and he politely reassures them. Watching them leave, Lin Yuan smiles gratefully and wonders if he might one day cure Li Shu, though he doubts his own ability. Returning home, he notices that the small potted plant has improved in both level and quality overnight. He theorizes that spiritual energy flows through his body rather than escaping, indirectly promoting the growth of nearby spirit creatures. Inspired to experiment, Lin Yuan selects a more challenging low-level healing spirit plant, typically valued only as livestock feed. As Lin Yuan channels spiritual energy into the plant, its data updates instantly, revealing a clear improvement in level and abilities. Overjoyed, he smiles excitedly as its value multiplies several times. He rushes upstairs, calling Kongming and Yin Yin to witness the transformation. Yin Yin arrives first, excitedly announcing that they seem to have leveled up. Kongming leaps into his arms, boasting that its appetite has grown from 1 to 30 servings of braised pork. Yin Yin also shows improvement, confidently demonstrating its enhanced singing with an enthusiastic la la la. Hugging Kongming, Lin Yuan feels certain he has finally grasped the key to changing his destiny, leaving Yin Yin curiously asking what a golden finger is. However, Lin Yuan suddenly freezes, realizing the situation is far more complex than it appears. Evolving spirit beasts is notoriously difficult, usually requiring immense resources and expert nurturing, with natural evolution being exceedingly rare. Relying solely on his unusual ability would undoubtedly attract unwanted attention and covetous eyes. Any carelessness or excessive prominence could bring disaster, especially since he currently lacks the strength to protect himself. To use his power safely, he decides to proceed cautiously and disguise himself as a spirit beast nurturer to avoid unpredictable consequences. As this resolve forms, Kongming alerts him to a call from Xiaosu, snapping him back to reality. Remembering that Xiaosu is about to form her first contract, Lin Yuan answers warmly, reassured to hear her concerned voice. He gently tells her he is recovering well and even plans to tidy the backyard. Xiaosu immediately protests, worried that without spiritual energy he cannot handle such tasks and insists on returning home. Lin Yuan reassures her to focus on her studies and not waste her exceptional talent. After a brief silence, Xiaosu responds with firm determination that she understands. Ending the call, she grips her phone with resolve, vowing not to disappoint him. Later that afternoon, the teacher's lecture fills a quiet classroom. The teacher emphasizes that within 2 days, each student must complete their first spirit beast contract, highlighting its critical importance. Compatibility between the profession's combat system and the spirit beast is essential, as mismatches can cause contract failure or mental damage. Even lifestyle professions require deep understanding of spirit beasts, and for combat-focused students, careful coordination is even more crucial. When the dismissal bell rings, students leave the classroom, bidding farewell to the teacher. As Xiaosu stands to leave, she is asked to stay behind. The teacher urges her to reconsider her chosen spirit beast, noting her rare defensive affinity and the upcoming selection opportunity. Xiaosu lowers her head, hesitating without responding. That evening in the small house, Lin Yuan excitedly shares his discovery. 3 lily plants have all reached the elite level, significantly increasing in value and offering hope for preparing a better spirit beast for Xiaosu. Just then his phone rings with an unfamiliar number, which he suspects to be a potential customer. He answers politely, inquiring about the caller's identity. The caller quickly asks if he is Xiaosu's guardian and whether he knows she intends to contract a Huel Jia Chong. Lin Yuan is stunned, knowing this low-tier, inexpensive spirit beast is rarely chosen due to its limited skills despite decent attack power. Noticing his silence, the caller continues, explaining Xiaosu's rare defensive talent and the need to guide her toward a higher-level compatible spirit beast. Lin Yuan thanks the caller and resolves to prepare a suitable spirit beast within 2 days, quickly calculating the high cost of an elite level 1. With time running out, he plans to upgrade all his current spirit creatures and trade them for the best defensive option for Xiaosu. The next morning at the bus station, a pale and exhausted Lin Yuan reflects on his overnight spiritual exertion, but remains cautious as he enters the complex spirit beast market. He asks if Kongming truly wants to accompany him. The mischievous creature insists, claiming bargaining is a 100-question beast's specialty, leaving Lin Yuan sighing at its increasingly unruly nature. As the driver announces the carriage's arrival, Kongming is baffled by the horse-drawn bus, and Lin Yuan explains that spirit beasts have largely replaced machinery. Once seated, the driver signals the spirit horse, which dashes forward at incredible speed. A strong gust nearly blows Kongming away, but Lin Yuan catches it just in time as it marvels at the vehicle's speed. The driver casually asks if Lin Yuan is heading to the spirit market and hints that he has arrived on a significant day. Curious, Lin Yuan learns that a dimensional rift appeared in the outskirts 2 days earlier. The driver recounts how security forces struggled to contain the situation, prompting Lin Yuan's surprise at the familiar incident. The rift opened near a spirit beast breeding area, leaving many creatures injured or dead, with survivors being sold off cheaply at the market. Kongming realizes that the previous armored burrowing boar likely escaped from this very incident. After hearing that some beasts are still at large, Lin Yuan asks to be dropped near the trading area, hoping to purchase injured spirit beasts at lower prices. Soon they enter the bustling market filled with noisy crowds. Kongming eagerly volunteers to handle negotiations, while Lin Yuan specifies the need for an elite-level defensive spirit beast costing at least 10,000. Shocked by their limited funds, Kongming worries about being undercut, but Lin Yuan plans to trade his newly upgraded spirit plants, though this risks price suppression. As Lin Yuan observes the softly glowing spirit plants, he senses them subtly responding to his presence. He realizes his compatibility range is broad, especially with support and healing types, while plant-based spirit creatures feel naturally familiar. Lost in thought, Lin Yuan is suddenly called by Kongming to examine a potential deal. He witnesses an intense bargaining scene as Kongming and the seller fiercely haggle over the price. Information reveals the target to be an elite-level defensive rabbit with a skin-based protective barrier skill. Lin Yuan hurriedly intervenes, apologizing for Kongming's overzealous negotiation, while Kongming protests that it nearly secured a price of 20,000. Leaning closer, Lin Yuan whispers to Kongming about understanding proper price comparison. Evaluating a small turtle, he feels regret since, despite its stable defense, its current level is insufficient and there's no time for further nurturing. Kongming agrees it moves too slowly. Another elite-level option is quickly dismissed due to its unimpressive abilities, with Lin Yuan shaking his head and Kongming joking that it's too ugly to protect Xiaosu. Although Kongming suggests returning to the initial choice, Lin Yuan continues to stroll thoughtfully through the market, deciding to consider more options. After carefully inspecting each stall, Lin Yuan weighs his options and finally settles on a single promising target. The displayed data reveals a young spirit beast with exceptional quality, combining defensive and control abilities, leaving him highly satisfied. Without hesitation, he offers a price of 100,000, stunning Kong Ming. The shop owner lazily folds his newspaper and says he needs to call his wife before deciding. Kong Ming grumbles about the known market price, while Lin Yuan calmly explains that his offer represents goodwill rather than mere numbers. After the call, the owner quotes a firm price higher than Lin Yuan's expectations. Both Lin Yuan and Kong Ming feel disappointed, realizing their options are becoming increasingly limited, yet they reluctantly consider proceeding. Nearby, a noisy crowd gathers around a seller explaining something regretfully amid dissatisfied murmurs. Catching fragments of the conversation, Lin Yuan's eyes light up with interest, while Kong Ming nudges him, joking that it's not time to think about food. The seller announces that the remaining injured spirit beasts are not for consumption and are available for viewing at very low prices. However, many people show little interest, believing severely injured beasts lack value and are too costly to treat. As Lin Yuan approaches, the seller cautions him, but Lin Yuan respectfully states his intention to inspect the creatures, reminding himself to act carefully to seize the opportunity. Unlike before, Lin Yuan now feels mentally composed, allowing his thoughts to become clearer and more decisive. The friendly seller introduces himself as Yang Ji and leads Lin Yuan inside, where 3 spirit beasts remain in poor condition. Inside the cage are 2 Fun Vongsho with torn bodies exposing large cavities, making survival beyond a few days unlikely, prompting Kong Ming to complain about the stench. The creatures are identified as Pun Vongsho elite level, poison-type insects of perfect quality, capable of leaving nearly invisible sharp threads, and using the poison web skill to ensnare enemies. Lin Yuan concludes they would have evolved further if not for the dimensional rift. Yang Ji explains that if uninjured, each could sell for at least 300,000 Federation coins on the Star Net, but now both together are worth only about 150,000. Lin Yuan immediately expresses his desire to purchase both Fun Vongsho, proposing to exchange them with spirit creatures since he lacks sufficient funds. Yang Ji hesitates, explaining that the remaining beasts are intended to help rebuild his breeding base, and that he may not need Lin Yuan's offerings. Undeterred, Lin Yuan proposes trading an elite-level Qingluo plant. Yang Ji frowns with interest, questioning its quality, and Lin Yuan confidently invites him to inspect it in person. After thoughtful consideration, Yang Ji reveals his final prize spirit beast, the Tianyu, a level 10 elite earth type with epic quality and the Rockhorn skill, capable of reckless attacks and sharing damage with its master. Lin Yuan's eyes shine with excitement as he inquires about the price, recognizing the beast's near bronze quality and exceptional defensive suitability. Yang Ji skeptically asks if he's serious, but Lin Yuan calmly offers 20,000 Federation coins for the creature. Yang Ji's expression changes as he wonders if Lin Yuan can heal it and suspects he has a powerful backer. Yang Ji is astonished that Lin Yuan wants all 3 beasts and plans to trade elite Qingluo for them. Lin Yuan confidently reassures Yang Ji that Qingluo won't disappoint, with Kong Ming chiming in to vouch for him. Yang Ji finally agrees, deciding to pack up and go inspect Lin Yuan's Qingluo. They swiftly gather the spirit beasts, storing the Tianyu and Pun Vongsho in a containment device. Yang Ji tosses a mysterious item to Lin Yuan. Kong Ming curiously asks about it, and Lin Yuan explains it's an exclusive spirit beast storage device from the logistics department. The device adjusts space and reduces weight for easy transport, leaving Kong Ming amazed while Lin Yuan jokes he couldn't afford one before. The device emits a beam of light toward the Tianyu. The massive beast vanishes inside, astonishing Kong Ming at the device's impressive capacity. Yang Ji sighs, noting the device has reached bronze rank 2, though the Tianyu likely never will. Yang Ji summons the Luguang Hu Shi, a long-scaled bronze rank 7 poison and fire creature with the brutal Duan Qi skill. Proudly patting its head, Yang Ji seeks approval and Lin Yuan responds with an admiring thumbs up. Lin Yuan marvels at the bronze rank spirit beast's destructive fire poison power, while Yang Ji grows more cautious. Yang Ji concludes that despite Lin Yuan's youth, his deep knowledge implies either rare talent or a powerful mentor, reinforcing his trust. A customer angrily complains that the sudden summoning frightened their pet, prompting Yang Ji to apologize and leave hastily. Yang Ji mounts the Luguang Hu Shi and tells Lin Yuan to hold on as they prepare to depart. The beast stomps the ground and shoots forward like an arrow. Riding behind, Lin Yuan remarks it's faster than a thick-hoofed train, while Kong Ming screams in panic until they arrive. Yang Ji comments on the shorter than expected distance and explains that flying spirit beasts offer an even more thrilling view. Lin Yuan thanks him for his first bronze rank ride as Yang Ji invites him inside. The surroundings seem unlike a reclusive creator's home, and Yang Ji resolves to separate business from sentiment if the Qingluo disappoints. However, his thoughts are overturned the moment he notices the potted plants. He becomes convinced that only a creator could cultivate Qingluo of such caliber without special assistance. Excited, Yang Ji praises the plants as rare elite quality specimens, while Lin Yuan calmly explains they were grown in mineral soil before evolving. After careful inspection, Yang Ji confirms the healthy cuts and feels hopeful that fortune may finally favor him. Yang Ji recalls past humiliation, fueling his determination to prove himself. He realizes that to approach a creator, he must offer something valuable, and connecting through Lin Yuan could be his slim chance. Noticing Yang Ji's silence, Lin Yuan prompts him, and Yang Ji eagerly confirms his satisfaction before discussing the price. Yang Ji states that the elite quality Qingluo could fetch 30 zalas on the Star Web, offering up to 33,000 each if Lin Yuan can supply 100 pots. Hearing the figure, Kong Ming freezes, mentally calculating the staggering fortune. Lin Yuan reassures him that a private transaction would benefit both sides, especially for bulk upgrades. Yang Ji falls into deep thought, convinced that Lin Yuan's calm demeanor hints at a powerful mentor behind his ordinary appearance. After deciding, Yang Ji steps outside for air and asks how many days Lin Yuan needs to prepare the goods. Lin Yuan smiles and answers 7 days, having already calculated the time needed for each pot in his own rest. Yang Ji feels exhilarated, sensing that fortune has finally arrived after a streak of hardships. Lin Yuan narrows his eyes with a relaxed smile. Confirming the 7-day deal, Yang Ji offers a deposit, but Lin Yuan declines, preferring full payment upon delivery. At the gate, Yang Ji waves goodbye, promising to return in 7 days while Lin Yuan smiles, aware that the real challenge has just begun. Later in the backyard, as Calm returns, curiosity begins to surface. Lin Yuan states the creature must stay for treatment, and despite Kongming's worries about upkeep, he insists on saving it first. His gaze tightens with urgency as he realizes the creature's life is dangerously fading. Energy flows from his hands, gradually healing the injuries, and his excitement grows as hope emerges. As spiritual energy envelops it, the Tianyi reacts violently in pain, leaving Lin Yuan momentarily stunned. A sudden thought strikes him that this may signal a breakthrough, and he remains determined to help it cross the threshold. He waits silently as the dust settles until a subtle fluctuation appears and bursts forth. Lin Yuan peeks out, overjoyed as he exclaims that the breakthrough succeeded. The revived beast transforms into the Tai Jiao Shi Now, a horned bronze rank 1 metal-tip creature with the Yanjiao skill that reinforces its horn and shares damage with its master. At that moment, Lin Yuan is stunned as the system presents additional exclusive trade options, leaving him astonished. Sitting down to deliberate, he weighs 3 choices: enhanced external defense, improved mobility with reduced consumption, or converting damage into vitality. After careful consideration, he selects the trade absorb pain. The transformation completes, granting the spirit beast the ability to convert part of received damage into life force, and Lin Yuan envisions effective combat combinations with satisfaction. Folding his arms contentedly, Lin Yuan deems it a perfect first contracted beast, while Kongming jokes that Chu Si pairing with it would resemble a Beauty and the Beast legend. Lin Yuan responds indifferently, emphasizing Chu Si's safety above all and teasing Kongming for speaking as if he weren't a beast himself. A sly smile forms as Long realizes his suspicions were spot on. Not only does the Tai Jiao Shi now break past the Bronze Thorn limit, but Lin Yuan's own spiritual power surges. Though exhausted by the effort, he wonders how powerful the feedback would be with a top-tier beast and rare treasures. Covered in grime, Kongming finds himself in an awkward dilemma about how to send the creature to Chu Si. While browsing on his screen, Lin Yuan casually mentions ordering an expedited logistics ostrich for delivery, thrilling Kongming with dreams of a speedy flight. As night falls, a deep voice echoes within the quiet palace. The formula is prepared: 3 parts blood patchouli, 1 part deep-sea agarwood, and 1 part platinum beast essence. A blue bird hands the vial to its master, and when Saikong attempts to speak, he is curtly silenced by Lang Xiao, the city lord. All eyes watch as a small piece of wood drops into the solution, triggering a violent reaction. Yuho extends her hand, manipulating the blazing red substance as immense power spreads, commanding it to proceed. Observers are inwardly astonished as even the preparation exerts terrifying pressure, revealing the formidable skill of the 5-star creator, Nan Sao Yu. After completion, Yu Hao of the Radiance Federation calmly instructs them to summon the spirit beast intended for evolution. The king-class expert beside Yu Hu takes a deep breath while Ling Xiao, the city lord, expresses amazement and reassures him not to worry. The man immediately bows respectfully, expressing heartfelt gratitude to Yu Hao. Without hesitation, Yu Hu tosses the finished solution toward the colossal beast. As the energy is gradually absorbed, the beast trembles violently and collapses, causing Saikong to panic. Yu Hu calmly explains that the beast is evolving to legendary grade and will become a fantasy species once its master fuses the comprehended will rune. Saikong vows lifelong loyalty and gratitude. Suddenly, the beast opens its eyes, its body surging with power as a roar shakes the very space. The sound makes a small rabbit's ears twitch as it rests on a soft cushion, letting out a gentle noise. The beast's body remains unstable, trembling continuously with deep rumbling sounds. Yuho coldly criticizes the rigid 3-year creator exam system for failing to identify truly capable talents. Saikong hesitates before realizing she is proposing that this year's exam allow candidates to skip levels. Gently stroking the rabbit, Yuho decisively decrees that anyone passing the Level 1 creator exam within 2 hours may bypass 3 vocational subjects and proceed directly to the Level 2 exam. Saikong bows to accept the order. Ling Xiao probes further, suspecting the reform is due to the Federation's recent lack of outstanding young talents capable of comprehending will runes. Yu turns with a frosty gaze, declaring it a personal matter. Since fellow 5-star creators Zhu Jun and Zhu Zone have disciples, she intends to take one as well. Her statement leaves Ling Xiao stunned, realizing that Yu Ho is about to accept a disciple. After a brief silence, Yu Hu sternly warns that the dimensional tide is approaching and orders Ling Xiao to safeguard every rift in Zing City without fail. Under the pale moonlight, Lin Yuan rides a spirit beast speeding through the night sky. The man in front reassures him about flying above the clouds, while Lin Yuan, pale and nauseous, insists he is fine. The man warmly praises Lin Yuan's quick-witted Baeksin beast, regretting it couldn't join due to the overload. Both recall Kongming's dramatic insistence on coming along, only to be pacified by Lin Yuan's promise of tasty treats upon his return. Back in the present, still recovering, Lin Yuan holds his neck and remarks that there will be more opportunities. Suddenly, the man's eyes light up as he announces their arrival and urges Lin Yuan to take a good look. He explains that this breathtaking view near Zing City is famous and especially visible under the moonlight. Gazing below, Lin Yuan responds with curiosity and excitement, acknowledging the rarity of the experience. As the majestic scenery fills his vision, a subtle transformation occurs in his consciousness, forming a will rune. He clearly senses the condensation of a mountain Andrever will rune, perfectly compatible with his spirit beast. Noticing Lin Yuan's prolonged silence, the man checks on him, and Lin Yuan asks how much longer until they reach Zing City. The man estimates arrival by morning, explaining the delay was due to Lin Yuan's sightseeing and airsickness. Lin Yuan urges him to resume full speed. The next morning, the school courtyard buzzes with lively discussions among gathered students. A student questions why they are at the training ground instead of contracting spirit beasts, and another explains the schedule change to include combat classes afterward. Someone adds that the accelerated schedule aims to identify truly talented students, a claim supported by reports from other schools. Once assembled, the teacher announces a joint session grade 12 combat training and the first practical exercise for grade 10, who will draw lots to battle seniors in the forest. A blonde girl nervously asks Chusi if she truly intends to contract the gray armor insect before facing experienced seniors. Chusi reluctantly nods while looking at the box in her hands, which contains the small gray armor insect. After several consecutive matches, the teacher announces the 8th draw for the practical battle. As before, the grade 10 student is swiftly defeated, and victory once again goes to grade 12. Witnessing this, a female student protests the unfairness and encourages Chusi, the most talented in the class, to teach the seniors a lesson. Despite the dissatisfied gazes, the teacher remains indifferent and announces the 9th match, asking if both students are ready. Feng Lixing steps forward confidently and gives a concise confirmation. Murmurs spread as Feng Lixing's name sparks concern, with rumors of his powerful backing and ambitions for the Zing 100, while Chusi's troubled spirit beast is also discussed. Hearing the gossip, Feng Lixing grows more smug, believing the recent news from the Creator Guild and favorable opponents signal that fortune is on his side. He becomes even more confident about both the Zing 100 and future goals, mocking Chusi's contract with a gray armor insect and laughing derisively. Opposite him, Chusi tightly grips the box, reminding herself not to give up despite her limited choice. After a brief hesitation, she gathers her courage and declares that she is ready. Just then, a voice calls out from behind, causing her to turn around in surprise. A female teacher rushes over with a Huangbinquan, urging Chusi to use this elite beast instead so her talent isn't wasted on the gray armor insect. Suddenly, a loud voice from the stands interrupts. Lin Yuan leaps down, astonishing Chusi. Landing swiftly, Lin Yuan stops the teacher and explains that he has already brought Chusi's spirit beast in time. With a reassuring gaze, he tells his sister to trust him and places the spirit beast box into her hands. Still concerned, the teacher hesitates, suggesting the Huangbanquan as a backup despite its difficulty to control. Before she finishes, Feng Lixing interrupts with a mocking laugh, claiming it makes no difference. He boasts that regardless of her choice, none can defeat his carefully raised Li Wangchong. He summons a massive metallic rhinoceros beetle, the Li Wangchong, a bronze rank 1 insect type of elite quality with the Jujiao Zhuang skill, and the ability to see through low-level camouflage. The teacher's face pales at the sight, realizing the Huangbanquan is no match, while Lin Yuan also senses the formidable pressure of this bronze-ranked opponent. Chusi examines the box and quietly asks if it is a bronze-grade contract box, wondering how her family could afford such an expense. Lin Yuan gently pats her head, urging her not to overthink and expressing confidence in her abilities, which she acknowledges with a reassuring smile. Determined not to waste her brother's efforts, Chusi opens the box and focuses her spirit to begin the contract ritual. Soon the Dataiyu appears, astonishing onlookers with its metallic form as they murmur in surprise. Feng Lixing remains disdainful, belittling her chances, but Chusi calmly responds that the outcome is yet to be decided and prepares her Daiyu for battle. The female teacher excitedly identifies it as a bronze-ranked defensive Taijiaoshi, now with a horn worth 700,000 Federation coins, while Lin Yuan wryly reminds her not to judge it solely by its price, prompting her embarrassed acknowledgement. As the signal sounds, the battle begins with both spirit beasts charging head-on, and Feng Lixing smugly mocks Chusi for daring to attack with a defensive creature. He commands his beast to demonstrate true offensive power with the skill Jujiao Zhuang. Following the order, the Li Wangchong launches a powerful strike, sending the Dataiyu flying into the air. Chusi immediately directs her spirit beast to stabilize and hold its ground. Despite the heavy impact, the Dataiyu rises again, surprising Feng Lixing, who realizes Chusi is already skillfully using spiritual energy despite just forming the contract. The observing teacher grows tense, relieved that Chusi's beast wasn't knocked out of the arena and noting her risky, inexperienced decision to attack first. Lin Yuan, however, deduces that Chusi's initial assault was likely a calculated probe after quickly mastering her beast's abilities. On the field, the Li Wangchong begins circling in flight, confusing the spectators who question its purpose. Feng Lixing inwardly scoffs, knowing the maneuver is to find the perfect moment for a decisive strike. With a mocking tone, he taunts Chusi, asking if she understands what she is facing. The Li Wangchong then shoots forward like an arrow, slamming into the Dataiyu and kicking up a dense cloud of dust. Chusi anxiously calls out to her spirit beast. The audience gasps in alarm, many covering their faces as the feared finishing move seems to seal the outcome. The teacher worries that even with the Taijiao Xinao's renowned defense and Chusi's stabilizing spiritual energy, it may not withstand such relentless assaults, highlighting the unfair disparity between grade 12 and grade 10 students. In contrast, Lin Yuan smiles confidently, certain the beast's skill was made for this very situation. As predicted, Chusi's voice rings out from the dust, declaring that the moment has arrived. The Dataiyu immediately activates its exclusive trait, Absorb Pain. Spectators are stunned as its spiritual energy shifts and its wounds begin to heal, appearing to regenerate. The female teacher exclaims in amazement that Absorb Pain converts damage into vitality, a rare and remarkable ability. Lin Yuan proudly praises Chusi for maintaining control despite her first real battle with a newly contracted beast. Refusing to concede, Feng Lixing coldly dismisses the beast as merely a sturdier punching bag. The Li Wangchang continues its relentless assault, yet the Decisive stands firm like an immovable metal fortress. Observers grow increasingly puzzled as its strength shows no sign of diminishing despite repeated hits. Even the teacher anxiously asks Lin Yuan whether the beast lacks counterattack skills, but he reassures her that Chuxi surely has her own strategy. Meanwhile, Feng Lixing's impatience mounts as he orders the Li Wangchang to unleash a final, decisive strike with maximum power. The Li Wangchang transforms its posture and charges forward like a massive drilling spear. Having awaited this precise moment, Chuxi decisively commands the Tainu Yanjiao! The ground is violently upheaved, astonishing the spectators at her clever use of terrain, while Lin Yuan clenches his fist in excited admiration. Despite this, Feng Lixing remains dismissive and continues shouting commands, believing it to be nothing more than a trivial trick as the Li Wangchang is ordered to smash through all obstacles. Chuxi stands her ground, skillfully directing the Taijiao now to use Yanjia once more. The two spirit beasts charge head-on, creating a powerful shockwave. The crowd is stunned, unable to believe that the Datai Nu has successfully blocked the attack. This unexpected stalemate confuses everyone, as the Li Wangchang had previously held a clear advantage. The teacher quickly explains that the Li Wangchang's Jujiao Zhuang is an allowed attack that also inflicts recoil damage on itself after each collision. She further analyzes that Feng Lixing likely trained it with an excessive focus on destructive power and precision, neglecting its vulnerability against equally ranked opponents. Watching with keen interest, Lin Yuan notes that this aggressive cultivation style aims to dominate and end battles swiftly, but if it fails, the consequences are severe. Gradually, the Li Wangchang loses stability, exciting the audience as it begins to stagger, with many believing fortune is favoring Chuxi. The teacher corrects them, explaining that insect-type spirit beasts are less stable in prolonged battles, and the contractor's mental state directly influences their performance. Feng Lixing grows increasingly flustered, sweating and unable to accept being pushed back by a grade 10 student using a defensive bronze-ranked beast. In desperation, he decides to disregard the rules, ordering the Li Wangchang to create distance and directly attack Chuxi. The Li Wangchang retreats briefly before coiling and launching toward her at high speed. The teacher urgently shouts to stop the rule violation, while Lin Yuan anxiously warns Chuxi to dodge. However, Chuxi remains calm, her cold gaze fixed as she commands the Taijiao now to use Yanjiao on the ground at the perfect moment. The beast executes the skill, causing a stone pillar to erupt from beneath the earth and strike the Li Wangchang's abdomen mid-charge. The giant beetle is instantly knocked unconscious and collapses out of the arena, prompting the referee to declare the result, leaving Feng Lixing frozen in disbelief. The referee points to Chuxi and proclaims her the victor as cheers of admiration erupt around her. The excited teacher praises Lin Yuan for the clever terrain accumulation strategy using repeated Yanjiao, commending Chuxi as an outstanding student, while Lin Yuan wryly asks her to ease up on her enthusiastic pats. Without warning, Chuxi rushes forward to hug her brother and affectionately calls out to him. Lin Yuan gently reassures and congratulates her. She then questions him with concern about the origin of the money, fearing he may have sold their family shop and neglected his health. Lin Yuan softly explains that his illness is cured and his business is thriving. Though surprised, Chuxi remains slightly skeptical. At that moment, the teacher approaches and proposes recommending Chuxi for the Zijing 100 selection, which Lin Yuan acknowledges he had already discussed with her. Seeing his uncertainty about its significance, the teacher elaborates that it is a regional qualifier leading to the National 100 Talents competition, offering abundant training resources and rapid growth opportunities. Lin Yuan warmly thanks the teacher for her care and promises full support with spirit beasts and resources, while she nods in satisfaction and invites Chuxi to show her brother around the school that afternoon. Lin Yuan glanced at the teacher's dog and she chuckled, assuring him it was just a harmless pet. That evening, the siblings shared a warm walk home. Lin Yuan reaffirmed his ability to sense spiritual energy, while Chuxi insisted she'd only believe it after seeing it and reminded him of the iron rhinoceros bull's hefty value. With no other option, Lin Yuan showed his phone balance, leaving Chuxi stunned. He explained that after recovery he gained a founder's ability, earned money, and urged her to focus on studies and selection. He added that a high ranking would free her from family burdens, and revealed his own plan to join the founder competition, making Chuxi beam with excitement. As they continued chatting nonstop, Lin Yuan eagerly suggested celebrating with hot pot, promising to order whatever she liked. Time passed as Lin Yuan rode back home on Hai Chi Feng's back. A new plan formed in his mind. Since Chuxi's studies were on track, it was time for him to push himself harder. Aware the upcoming competition wouldn't be easy, he planned to buy all master-level books for spirit creature researchers and spirit material analysts, even if he needed help acquiring them. Reflecting on the daytime battle, he realized Chuxi's victory came not only from her rebound skill, but also from her stable spiritual energy foundation. In contrast, his own spiritual energy hadn't reached true professional levels, and Mobius' strict locking spirit trait forced it to start from the basic tier. Suddenly, Hai Chi Feng accelerated and dived, jolting him awake and prompting him to ask what was going on. The rider explained they were late earlier, so this time he showcased maximum speed to avoid bad reviews. Though Lin Yuan wanted to shop, he was told that ordering via Starnet would ensure same-day delivery. Soon the bird landed utterly exhausted, tongue hanging out, making Lin Yuan worry about its condition. The rider confidently gave a thumbs up, assuring everything was fine and reminding Lin Yuan to leave a good review. Lin Yuan wiped his sweat and thanked him despite his helpless amusement. Afterward, Lin Yuan marveled at the delivery speed and conceived the idea of opening an online store to reduce reliance on the spirit creature market and enhance safety. Upon entering, he immediately called out to announce his return. Seeing him, Yin rushed over to question his lateness, while Kongming tearfully complained about missing him. Just as Kongming was about to pounce, it abruptly stopped, turned away in a sulk, and crossed its wings, ignoring Lin Yuan while Yin remained clingy. Feeling awkward, Yin tried to mediate, reminding Kongming of the long flight earlier. Lin Yuan attempted to soothe it, but Kongming brushed him off, declaring a 2-day grudge immune even to delicious food. Lin Yuan secretly found the childish reaction amusing, but he had already prepared a solution. With a soft click, he opened a box and revealed it as a specially prepared apology gift for Kongming. The irresistible aroma made Kongming surrender. Though it pretended dignity by claiming it merely shortened its anger, Lin Yuan indulged it, promising daily treats if desired. Not to be outdone, Yin immediately demanded its own share. Lin Yuan presented a pot of illitigrade Qingluo for Yin as its future staple food, but the bird looked displeased, seemingly reproaching him for replacing its previous delicacies. Right then, Kongming asked if he would eat Lin Yuan, arms full of packages, told the two to dig in while he organized the loot. After a while, Kongming perched on his shoulder, amazed by the mountain of goods, while Lin Yuan panted, equally shocked by his own shopping spree. Suddenly, Yin landed on a nearby branch and called out about a strange-looking pot, prompting Lin Yuan to investigate. Checking the information card, he was surprised to learn that buying 100 Qingluo pots came with a bonus elite-level Bay Lily. This reminded him of the bracelet's requirement, sparking the realization that a plant-based healing support spirit creature suited him best. Enlightened, Lin Yuan excitedly hugged the pot, declaring it the perfect choice, a healing plant spirit creature starting from the basic tier. He immediately instructed his two pets to stay and care for the Qingluo, forbidding them from going upstairs for now. Ascending to the upper floor, he clenched his fists with excitement, ready to begin the experiment. Activating Locking Spirit drained his spiritual energy, making him tense as his mental state hadn't fully recovered. Nevertheless, he cast aside hesitation and completed the contract, determined to see it through. Afterward, he looked at the bracelet with satisfaction, noting that his mental power was no longer depleted and that future upgrades would be smoother with continued spiritual infusion. About an hour later, the status panel appeared. The Bay Lily reached level 1 elite with fine quality and a healing skill for external injuries. Mobius also updated an unidentified species, level 1 elite of space and mystic types. Fine quality with skills real data deciphering complex information and composure stabilizing the mind and reducing negative effects. Its exclusive trait, Locking Spirit, created a nurturing space for spirit creatures limited by Mobius level. Mobius itself advanced by nurturing these creatures and could inherit their initial skills, increasing its capacity with each major level. After reading, Lin Yuan was thrilled by the level increase as his consciousness was swiftly drawn into the internal space. Standing before the lily, he observed that the space had expanded significantly, nearly doubling in size. Just then, a faint voice echoed from behind, as if from afar. Lin Yuan, can you hear me? Smiling gently, he turned and replied that he could hear clearly, subtly hinting at having kept the other party waiting. A relaxed expression appeared on his face as he spoke with relief, realizing they could now communicate directly. Mobius' voice resonated steadily within his consciousness, explaining that only upon reaching the elite level could full communication be achieved. Lin Yuan glanced around and inquired about the nature of this space. The bracelet vibrated, conveying that it was the Locking Spirit space, which he could freely manipulate as the contractor. Learning it could store and nurture spirit creatures, he curiously looked toward the tranquil lake, only to be told it was merely ordinary water without spiritual energy. Hearing this, Lin Yuan scratched his head in mild disappointment. Before he could finish reacting, Mobius added that wealth-tide water could still be used, prompting Lin Yuan to eye the bracelet with intrigued admiration. He casually picked up an energy stone and tossed it into the lake. Watching the spiritual energy disperse into gentle ripples, he nodded in satisfaction, confirming that even low-grade stones were effective here. Mobius further explained that while spiritual energy dissipates easily outside, it is almost fully retained within this space, allowing higher-quality stones to gradually create a denser concentration. Lin Yuan's eyes lit up with excitement as he realized that enhancing spirit creatures here would be far more effective, and Mobius affirmed that higher levels would also extend the duration of this benefit. His thoughts soon turned grimly practical as he realized everything required massive resources, especially energy stones, making money an urgent necessity. When no response came, Lin Yuan called out worriedly. Mobius reverted to its bracelet form, explaining it could only maintain clear communication briefly each day and reminding him it was his very first contracted spirit creature. Its voice gradually faded, tinged with guilt as it mentioned sensing his spiritual energy and mental power over the past 10 years. Lin Yuan lowered his head with a gentle gaze and softly replied that it was all right, as those years had helped him understand many things. Clenching his fist, he felt a firm conviction rise. He now had the chance to start anew, with a long journey ahead. Stretching and rotating his wrist, his eyes sharpened with determination, as if silently challenging fate itself. However, in his current state, the overwhelming drowsiness proved harder to resist than any pressure to keep working. After channeling all his spiritual energy into the last pots, Lin Yuan exhaled heavily, his body nearly drained. Late at night, Kongming and Yin were already asleep, occasionally mumbling in their dreams, prompting Lin Yuan to smile and gently tuck them in. He quietly moved to another room, switched on the light, and continued infusing spiritual energy into the waiting web-spraying beasts. Finishing everything, he relaxed and wiped the sweat from his brow, satisfied that his efforts were worthwhile. At least the two web-spraying beasts had been saved. 7 days later, Yang Mingkai arrived with his spirit beast, his heavy mood plainly visible. Standing at the door, he clasped his hands and muttered a prayer, hoping this visit would turn his fortunes around. Hesitating before Lin Yuan's house, he knew that preparing 100 Qingluo pots in such a short time was nearly impossible. The thought of a store backed by a founder filled him with both hope and anxiety, but the seemingly empty interior left him briefly disappointed. Hearing the commotion, Lin Yuan peeked out and greeted him cheerfully. Yang Mingkai forced a smile, masking his unease despite the prior promise. Lin Yuan lightly patted his shoulder and hinted for him to look for himself, while Yang Mingkai silently prayed that even partial completion would be a blessing. Yet upon seeing the room filled with spiritually rich pots, he froze in astonishment as Lin Yuan calmly introduced them. Pointing to the stock, Lin Yuan stated that everything was ready and he could select the required amount, instantly igniting hope in Yang Mingkai's eyes. Overwhelmed with excitement, Yang Mingkai repeatedly grabbed Lin Yuan's hand in gratitude, prompting Lin Yuan to gently withdraw and respond with humble modesty. Still emotional, Yang Mingkai offered to let Lin Yuan set the price and promised not to bargain, but Lin Yuan simply insisted on the original rate. Deeply moved, Yang Mingkai regarded Lin Yuan as a benefactor yet restrained himself due to their perceived status gap. Noticing his silence, Lin Yuan tilted his head and called out. Startled, Yang Mingkai immediately confirmed he would purchase everything at that price, leaving Lin Yuan agreeing, while inwardly puzzled by the excessive reaction. While transporting the goods, Yang Mingkai promised to invite Lin Yuan to visit once his facility recovered, and hinted at prioritizing the best resources for him. Lin Yuan nodded and waved farewell. Watching him leave, a faint smile appeared on Lin Yuan's lips as he acknowledged the many benefits of being a founder. Returning inside, he glanced at the now empty shop with a sense of unfamiliarity, and remembering the need to restock, called out to Kongming about registering on StarNet. From within, Kongming suddenly shouted in alarm that something was wrong, prompting Lin Yuan to rush in with a worried expression. Kongming's status appeared, showing it had reached elite level with enhanced memory and analytical abilities. The teary little cat lamented that it had grown fat, making Lin Yuan pause before bursting into laughter, realizing it was merely fluffier fur. Lin Yuan lifted Kongming and gently reassured it that it had simply leveled up, making the little cat's eyes sparkle with hopeful excitement. He teased it by asking if it felt smarter, prompting Kongming to dash around confidently, claiming brilliance was its natural talent. It even provided examples of its enhanced memory, causing Lin Yuan to chuckle before patting its head and saying he would rely on its help in the future. Puffing up with pride, Kongming eagerly agreed, and when Lin Yuan noticed Yin Yin was missing, he asked about it. Just then, Yin Yin's panic cries echoed from afar, leaving Lin Yuan looking helplessly at Kongming, unsure of the latest mishap. Yin Yin fluttered frantically. Worried it had shrunk from some illness, Kongming reassured it that this was merely a sign of leveling up, while Lin Yuan stroked his chin and observed carefully. The information panel revealed Yin Yin had reached elite level 2 with offensive skills, prompting Lin Yuan to patiently explain while wondering why its abilities now favored combat over singing. Kongming excitedly produced a wooden board, admitting that the two had secretly tested Yin Yin's skills while Lin Yuan was away. Examining the deep dent in the board, Lin Yuan realized it was caused by the new skill. After Yin Yin confirmed, he nodded and agreed to further testing. Noticing the short distance, Lin Yuan warned of potential danger, but Kongming remained utterly confident in Yin Yin's accuracy. Before he could finish speaking, Yin Yin unleashed 3 precise strikes, startling Kongming with the realization of their destructive power. Lin Yuan patted Yin Yin's head in satisfaction and suggested testing the remaining skill. Gathering spiritual energy, Yin Yin flapped its wings to generate a powerful vortex that shattered the wooden board in an instant. Witnessing this, Lin Yuan was astonished by the overwhelming destructive force, concluding that Yin Yin had become a pure combat spirit pet. At that moment, a delivery worker called from outside for a signature. Lin Yuan responded promptly, while Kongming, still excited, whispered about testing whether the skill could pierce metal. Lin Yuan immediately rejected the idea, stating that the tests were sufficient and Yin Yin needed rest. Kongming clicked its tongue, sounding slightly unconvinced as it compared its own abilities with Yin Yin's. Sighing softly, Lin Yuan patiently explained that each spirit creature had a different development path, and mentioned he would soon need Kongming's assistance. Hearing this, Kongming's eyes lit up with enthusiasm as Lin Yuan opened the spirit creature room, saying they first needed to feed the 2 web-spraying beasts. The sight of the large, rugged spiders made Kongming instinctively retreat in fear, prompting Lin Yuan to laugh and reassure it before assigning the task of recording the shop's spirit creature information. Lin Yuan began channeling spiritual energy to replenish the web-spraying beasts, whose bodies gradually changed as they absorbed it, quickly capturing Kongming's attention. Noticing the unusual glow emanating from them, Lin Yuan focused intently and recognized signs of an imminent evolution. The 2 spiders tilted their heads and spun silk, encasing themselves in large cocoons. While Kongming was astonished, Lin Yuan calmly explained that they had long been ready to evolve, and only needed sufficient vitality. About 2 hours later, the cocoons cracked open one after another, revealing their new forms. One evolved through ancestral reversion, gaining exclusive toxic traits that rendered both its body and silk highly poisonous, while the other followed a spiritual mutation path, enhancing the adhesive strength of its silk for superior control. Kongming marveled at the completely different evolutionary paths, while Lin Yuan felt satisfied and recognized their excellent foundational potential. Tilting its head, Kongming asked about the next step and mentioned that it had already registered the shop on StarNet, prompting Lin Yuan to gesture for them to check it together. Seeing the prompt to enter a shop name, Lin Yuan was briefly surprised, and Kongming explained that this feature allowed users to personalize the store, enhancing their sense of participation. Lin Yuan stepped forward and swiftly entered the required information. The displayed shop and username made Kongming grumble about their simplicity, but Lin Yuan calmly insisted that Easy Tour member names were best. After setup, Kongming reminded him to connect the device and verify the StarNet card, and Lin Yuan reassured it that a simple scan would complete the process. Once finished, a hazy confirmation space appeared around them, delighting Kongming with its flashy effect. Data from the plant pots and the web-spraying beasts were subsequently scanned and recorded. Kongming wondered why the spiders were included. Lin Yuan hinted that their true value lay within them, and suddenly made a move, startling it. Startled, Kongming hurriedly covered its eyes and yelped in surprise. The surroundings abruptly transformed, leaving it stunned, while Lin Yuan explained with interest that this was the storefront of their shop in StarNet. Kongming dashed around in awe of the vast space, and Lin Yuan confirmed that although it was a digital world, everything was based on real items displayed through simulation. Noticing the empty and chilly environment, Kongming asked why the home decorations weren't transferred here, and Lin Yuan sheepishly admitted that virtual decorations required additional spending. Hearing this, Kongming sighed helplessly as the reason was irrefutable. Lin Yuan nodded at the system panel and suggested opening the menu to explore the StarNet community. With a quick gesture, he activated the teleportation function, instantly changing the scenery, and hurriedly called out for Kongming not to run around. Kongming's attention was completely captured by a plump cow leisurely grazing nearby, essentially dozens of imaginary meals until it spotted a nearby shop sign and excitedly called Lin Yuan over. Stroking his chin thoughtfully, Lin Yuan agreed that a home goods store might provide suitable items for their shop. Upon entering, a service robot greeted them and asked what they needed. Kongming stared wide-eyed in fascination, prompting Lin Yuan to patiently explain that it was an artificial intelligence robot. Lin Yuan requested 2 flower racks, one 1.5 meters tall, and the robot responded in a monotone voice, guiding them to the display area despite Kongming's distracted remark about not hearing clearly. The robot led them to an exhibition area containing only a few simple shelves. Seeing the listed prices, Lin Yuan was stunned and decided the items were unnecessary for now, while Kongming muttered that it could theoretically craft them with some effort. With no better option, Lin Yuan asked for the cheapest item, a basic recliner, thinking at least customers should have somewhere to rest. However, the simple chair cost a staggering 15,000 Federation dollars. Kongming attempted to bargain down to 1,000, but the robot rigidly replied that such negotiations were beyond its authority. Sitting dejectedly on Lin Yuan's shoulder, Kongming accepted that bargaining was futile, and Lin Yuan abandoned the idea, suggesting they visit a bookstore instead. Tilting its head in confusion, Kongming asked why, and Lin Yuan firmly replied that he needed textbooks to prepare for the founder competition. Surrounded by endless shelves of books, Lin Yuan felt dizzy and entrusted the selection task to Kongming. Kongming immediately showcased its abilities by listing numerous essential titles on spiritual materials, analytical methods, rare material appraisal, illustrated guides, observation techniques, and foundational scholar knowledge. The bookstore robot processed the request, totaling 327 books with 1 complimentary catalog, and asked whether packaging was required. Lin Yuan handed over his payment card, requesting the books be packaged into a knowledge chip for delivery. The robot politely agreed, and required him to sign a confidentiality agreement to avoid founder association penalties. After confirming, Lin Yuan checked the system with satisfaction and suggested heading home, even considering buying an AI robot to manage the shop. In a flash, the duo returned to the real world. Unexpectedly, a young girl was waiting inside and immediately complained, asking if he was the shop owner and grumbling about the absence of an AI robot to assist customers. Lin Yuan smiled politely and apologized, explaining the shop had just opened inwardly. He noted that despite her student-like age, she exuded an aloof and proud aura. The girl skipped pleasantries and bluntly asked the price of the 2 spiders. Lin Yuan froze and pointed at himself in disbelief at being called uncle. Unfazed, the girl continued addressing him as uncle, urging him to introduce the spiders and not overcharge, while Kongming rolled around laughing at the amusing title. Suppressing his emotions, Lin Yuan maintained a polite demeanor and introduced the smaller web-spraying beast with long legs and the adhesive silk trait, which surprised the girl upon learning it was non-poisonous. He patiently added that the larger, green-glowing web-spraying beast possessed a potent venom trait for those seeking toxicity. While explaining, Lin Yuan accidentally bumped into the girl, causing her to fall and her hat to drop, revealing a completely bald head as she complained about the hard floor. Lin Yuan stood frozen, staring at her shiny scalp and struggling to restrain his awkward thoughts. Before he could react, Kongming blurted out the shared thought, soy sauce egg. Realizing her hat had fallen, the girl hurriedly covered her head, her face filled with embarrassment. Seeing the awkward situation, Lin Yuan sincerely apologized and urged Kongming to do the same, which it quickly did, admitting its thoughtless remark. The girl coughed lightly to dispel the tension before offering an explanation. She clarified that her condition resulted from a bite by the ghost shadow bristle spider and that her hair would regrow over time. Lin Yuan felt the name was familiar, while Kongming quietly added that it still looked very similar. Setting aside the awkwardness, Lin Yuan redirected the conversation by asking if she particularly liked spider-type spirit creatures. The question triggered an intense reaction, causing the girl to tremble with agitation. Nijong vehemently denied any fondness for spiders, expressing disgust at their hairy forms, prompting Lin Yuan to question why she still sought them and risked danger from the ghost shadow bristle spider. Her voice lowered with heaviness as she revealed that her affinity was compatible only with spider-type spirit creatures, leading Lin Yuan to realize the irony of being bound to what one fears most. From another perspective, Lin Yuan noted that spider-type spirit creatures offered diverse and promising development paths, and her safe encounter with the ghost shadow bristle spider hinted at remarkable strength and potential. Imagining himself in her situation, he felt he would have fled as far as possible from such creatures. Unable to find what she wanted, the girl turned to leave in dissatisfaction, but Lin Yuan hurriedly stopped her, promoting the combat, control, and poison advantages of the two spiders. She repeatedly shook her head, insisting that their exclusive traits were too weak, and that she desired a web-spraying beast with powerful control abilities. Lin Yuan frowned, feeling her standards were exceedingly high since such capable spiders were still deemed inadequate. Pointing directly at him, she clarified that she specifically wanted one with a rare transparent silk trait, even if it required customizing an elite epic-quality spirit creature, leaving Lin Yuan astonished by her wealth and stubbornness. A sudden idea struck him: Mobius' abilities might make this possible, so he confidently proposed that he could customize epic-grade web-spraying beasts, and asked how many she needed. Narrowing her eyes, the girl skeptically teased him, questioning whether he thought she was easily fooled or simply believed she would trust him because he was handsome. Lin Yuan was momentarily speechless and inwardly annoyed, yet secretly pleased by the compliment, ultimately deciding to accept the commission out of compassion rather than flattery. He waved dismissively and pretended to leave, telling her to try other shops, which startled her while Kongming cheekily urged her to go. Seeing the shopkeeper unmoved, she hurriedly grabbed his sleeve and softened her tone, asking if he truly had a solution, while Lin Yuan maintained his composure and indifference. Her attitude became pleading as she suggested adding each other as friends on StarNet so he could notify her if the customization succeeded. Amused by the effectiveness of his tactic, Lin Yuan still feigned aloofness, stating she could simply return if she wished to purchase. Blinking pleadingly, she apologized and promised not to bargain if he succeeded, eventually persuading Lin Yuan to agree to exchange contact information. The two scanned their StarNet cards to share their details. Seeing his username Shen Shanlao Lin, the girl burst into laughter at its humorous meaning. Upon noticing her name Yun Zhongxi, Lin Yuan teased her with a pun that she misheard as an insult, leading to a brief quarrel before both asserted their respective positions as provider and paying customer. Shortly after, Lin Yuan's phone notified him of receiving a 10 Radiance coin deposit, and the girl proudly declared she had prepaid while awaiting good news. Watching her depart, Lin Yuan was left with mixed feelings about the generous yet headstrong girl, who had paid a hefty deposit for 5 customized web-spraying beasts without hesitation. Suddenly, Tongming leapt onto Lin Yuan's head, thrilled about the hefty deposit, but Lin Yuan reminded him it was only advance payment held by the StarNet, though Brother Yang's extra funds eased their finances slightly. He reviewed the shop's expenses, discovering the balance had shrunk from over 3 Radiant Wine coins to about 2. Shocked by the loss, Lin Yuan realized preparing 5 elitigrade web-spraying spiders had drained their funds, leaving both him and Tongming dismayed. Continuing to nurture them conventionally would consume even more spiritual resources, explaining why the client had willingly paid such a large sum. Tongming worried the StarNet shop might not break even, but Lin Yuan reassured him to manage expenses carefully while preparing for future expansion. Encouraged, Tongming regained some spirit, and Lin Yuan optimistically insisted that completing this order would secure substantial future capital. Tongming headed upstairs to find Yin Yin, while Lin Yuan confidently promised he would soon earn more money. Left alone, Lin Yuan softly spoke within his mind. He asked Xiaowu about the next developmental stages of Spirit and Spirit Lock. A private space opened as Mobius appeared, advising Lin Yuan to spend money cautiously due to limited resources. Lin Yuan smiled with determination, asserting that increasing strength was the best way to earn more wealth. After days of consideration, he sought Mobius' opinion on his future development, and Mobius gestured for him to continue. Lin Yuan clearly stated his choice: the spirit-absorbing goldfish. Later, while walking through StarNet's virtual streets, he recalled that Mobius had accepted the idea more easily than expected despite earlier warnings. Mobius agreed to the spirit-absorbing goldfish provided the awakening went smoothly, though its traits required far more spiritual energy to advance, which Lin Yuan accepted without hesitation. Lin Yuan explained that since Mobius had supported him when his mental strength weakened, helping Mobius recover faster was his responsibility. Seeing Lin Yuan's determination, Mobius felt reassured and consented to the plan. Returning to the present, Lin Yuan opened the system interface to test StarNet's search function. The surroundings transformed into a mystical area filled with flying spirit fish and numerous shops selling mostly common spirit-absorbing goldfish, leaving him wishing for higher-grade options. He adjusted the search filters to target higher-tier shops, uncertain whether he would find any. Following the guidance, he soon arrived at a large aquatic store whose impressive storefront immediately caught attention. Inside, the spacious shop spanning several hundred square meters featured neatly organized display pillars and well-designed product interfaces, offering valuable inspiration for his own store. A gentle voice greeted him. The speaker was the friendly and well-dressed shop owner, Zhou Jiaxin, and Lin Yuan felt relieved to be dealing with a person rather than a machine. He scratches his head and shyly asks to buy a spirit-absorbing golden fish, and Zhou Jiaxin warmly guides him to the display. While walking, Zhou Jiaxin explains that small fish are common grade at 5 spirit coins, while the larger red one is elite grade, with Lin Yuan sensing its denser spiritual aura. Even so, the steep prices make Lin Yuan hesitate, as even the common type exceeds his budget. Noticing his hesitation, Zhujiaxin adds that superior breeds cost 7 coins or more and are rarely chosen due to their difficult evolution. Lin Yuan thanks her politely, and she cheerfully invites him to call her sister Han, emphasizing that the final choice depends on his own judgment. Lin Yuan studies the fish closely, considering the Dragonate type for its explosive potential upon bloodline awakening, deciding to test his spirit-locking space. After careful thought, he decisively selects an unremarkable black goldfish, leaving even the fish seemingly surprised. Zhujiaxin processes the purchase and asks if he needs anything else, prompting Lin Yuan to recall the untested spiritual capacity of his spirit-locking space. He requests additional energy ore, and when offered a discount, shocks her by ordering 2,000 jin. Hearing the massive quantity, Zhujiaxin freezes in astonishment, nearly dropping her shovel. Lin Yuan casually presents his card for payment, and Zhujiaxin assures him of delivery while internally noting the scale of this significant order. Sensing an opportunity, Zhujiaxin enthusiastically recommends fresh shellfish to boost the goldfish's advancement, and Lin Yuan politely thanks her despite his dwindling funds. Internally, Lin Yuan laments that his savings have been nearly depleted and will only sustain him briefly. Recognizing a valuable client, Zhujiaxin proposes adding each other on the Star Network for future transactions, which excites Lin Yuan due to easier access to rare resources. As Lin Yuan begins to inquire about future purchases, Zhujiaxin quickly anticipates his need for more energy ore and spirit-absorbing golden fish. Lin Yuan clarifies that he only requires low-quality energy ore, surprising Zhujiaxin, who nonetheless agrees. She speculates that such large consumption suggests a larger-scale breeding operation, and her smile brightens at the prospect of continued business. Remembering another service, Zhujiaxin discreetly offers to repurchase spirit beasts and supply heavily injured ones, causing Lin Yuan's eyes to light up as he eagerly asks about the next batch. Zhujiaxin cheerfully raises 3 fingers, saying the next batch will arrive in 3 weeks, prompting Lin Yuan to calculate a potential capital turnover by then. As he prepares to leave, Lin Yuan wonders why such a good shop has no customers, and Zhujiaxin asks if he is new to the area. She explains that everyone is watching the 100 Suns match at the Starry Sky Tower, sparking Lin Yuan's curiosity about whether Jing Baizi is involved. Zhujiaxin clarifies that it is the Radiant 100 Sons of the Federation, and Lin Yuan calmly acknowledges while feeling a stir of interest. Lin Yuan bids farewell, and Zhujiaxin assures him that his goods will be delivered soon. Leaving the shop, Lin Yuan quickly checks the match information and hastens his pace upon learning it has already begun with only high-tier seats remaining. Excitement swells within him as he wonders about the strength of the Federation's top young talents and the gap between them and himself. Nearing the arena, roaring cheers echo, supporters passionately chant for Bai Yimo and Bu Se-ho. Struggling up the long staircase, Lin Yuan complains about the inconvenience despite it being in the Star Network, though he is relieved the upper stands have unlimited seating. Amid the thunderous cheers, he notices a person enthusiastically supporting both sides, leaving him puzzled about their true allegiance. The individual, wearing a B-shaped hat and holding binoculars, is completely immersed in the fervent atmosphere. Suddenly, she turns and, still peering through the binoculars, bluntly remarks that he has a big face. Lin Yuan responds with mild helplessness, suggesting she at least lower the binoculars before commenting. Unbothered, the girl insists she can cheer for both sides and asks whom Lin Yuan supports. Caught off guard, Lin Yuan casually replies that he supports both as well. Thrilled, the girl nicknamed Flowing Spring in the Clouds excitedly approaches, praising Shenshan Lalan's insight, while Lin Yuan vaguely agrees despite not knowing the contestants. The atmosphere turns awkward when both realize she is still tightly holding his hand. Embarrassed, she quickly withdraws and pretends to wipe her hand, leaving Lin Yuan feeling indescribably uncomfortable. She swiftly changes the subject, handing him another pair of binoculars and urging him to watch the match clearly. Lin Yuan accepts with polite thanks, noting that despite her odd behavior, she does not seem malicious. Refocusing, he observes the battle and notes that the two sides clearly employ different combat styles. He comments that the two plant-type spirit beasts appear to serve supportive roles. Hearing this, the girl leans closer with a smug smile and asks him to predict the winner. Still observing, Lin Yuan reasons that the higher-ranked contestant likely has the advantage, especially since both have reached gold rank. On the battlefield, the short-haired girl signals the first attack, commanding Magma Lance! The giant bear beside her immediately forms a massive fireball and hurls it at the opponent. The opposing side reacts swiftly, ordering defense as the augmenting snow tree casts frost chill on the ice soul grass. Instantly, both spirit creatures are enveloped in thick ice, successfully resisting the attack as the commentator excitedly analyzes the unfolding battle. Busaiho's battle spirit surges as she orders the magma bear to unleash molten beam barrage to suppress the enemy. Obeying the command, the magma bear charges forward with overwhelming momentum. A dense rain of small fireballs pours out, relentlessly pressuring the opponent. Watching from above, Lin Yuan is astonished by the sheer offensive power, while the girl proudly notes that Busaiho's attack-oriented profession outclasses healing types. Intrigued, Lin Yuan glances at her, silently inviting further explanation. She adds that despite this, Bai Yimo still ranks higher Daisy at 18 and Anna at 47 as Daisy activates her staff to heal her spirits and suppress the magma bear. Opposite her, Busaiho remains calm and taunting, praising Daisy's resilience while hinting that her assault is far from over. The commentator heightens the tension, noting that the snow tree is barely holding on as Anna smugly suggests Daisy's spiritual energy is nearly depleted. From the stands, Lin Yuan feels uneasy, sensing that a healer facing relentless offense is likely at a disadvantage. However, Daisy remains steadfast, declaring that the gap between ranks 18 and 47 is greater than Anna assumes. She raises her hand to channel more healing energy, her expression turning icy and resolute. She commands the ice soul grass to unleash extreme frost seal. Instantly, the charging magma bear is frozen within a massive ice block, astonishing Anna and the commentator, though Daisy's spirits are also heavily strained. In the stands, Flowing Spring in the Clouds believes the counterattack only delays defeat, but Lin Yuan argues that Daisy's healing abilities could still turn the tide. Daisy continues, chanting softly as she orders the resurrecting phoenix butterfly to use Wings of Rebirth. A restorative glow envelops the ice soul grass and snow tree, rapidly returning them to peak condition. The commentator and audience are stunned as their injuries nearly vanish, restoring their combat effectiveness. Anna grits her teeth, acknowledging Daisy's prowess but insisting she will ultimately win. With a furious roar, the magma bear shatters the ice and rises again, revealing its platinum rank and overwhelming Daisy's spirits. Daisy plants her staff on the ice, calmly acknowledging Anna's significant progress. Suddenly, countless crimson butterflies materialize and swirl through the air like a blazing storm. Anna, standing firmly beside her spirit, declares that Daisy cannot break through her specially prepared blazing burst strike. Daisy simply gestures forward with a quiet command to attack. The swarm of red butterflies shoots forward like fiery spears, tearing through the air toward the magma bear. The magma bear cries out in agony before collapsing, completely losing its ability to fight. Anna is utterly defeated and drops to her knees in confusion as the commentator loudly announces Baimo's victory and Daisy's gain of another glory star. Lowering her gaze, Anna admits her loss, surprised that Daisy's resurrecting phoenix butterfly evolved from gold rank into a fantasy form. Daisy's tense expression softens as she respectfully extends a hand, clarifying that it was actually the Calamity Phoenix butterfly that evolved into the fantasy form. Helping Anna to her feet, Daisy reassures her while the audience continues chanting passionately for both Bai Imo and Bu Si Ho. In the upper stands, Flowing Spring in the Clouds excitedly shakes Lin Yuan, praising Bai Imo's brilliance and Bu Sihua's undeniable coolness despite her defeat. Gazing at the arena, Lin Yuan feels deep admiration, realizing that this battle far surpasses academy-level matches and represents the true prowess of the Radiant Federation's youth. As the event ends, Flowing Spring in the Clouds hurriedly bids farewell, reminding Shenshin Lalin to list her web-spraying beast, to which Lin Yuan casually agrees. Returning to his room from the Star Network, Lin Yuan remains awestruck by the fantasy form's power, amazed that a gold-rank healing spirit could defeat a platinum opponent. He deduces that the key lies in special runes enabling the fantasy transformation, particularly beneficial for healers, but his mood darkens upon further reflection. Currently, his only spirit of this type is Bai Luli, and after checking the system interface he sighs, realizing he may have been overambitious. Suddenly, strange music echoes through the room, its emotional melody singing of loneliness and fragile hope amid an uncertain future. Heading upstairs, Lin Yuan questions the source, startling the two creatures inside when pressed. Kongming awkwardly explains they were merely practicing singing. Though still suspicious, Lin Yuan lets it slide and asks them to leave so he can research, while Kongming reassures that their secret remains undiscovered. After searching, Lin Yuan learns that a bronze rank spirit requires at least key-grade spiritual energy to reach legendary quality, prompting him to consider auctioning the two web-spraying beasts for funds. The doorbell interrupts his thoughts, and a deliveryman named Q Yinduo arrives with the Star Network shipment, prompting Lin Yuan to sign for the package. The one sap-like courier abruptly urges his colleague to bring out the valuable goods, and the flustered girl hastily complies. Perched on Lin Yuan's shoulder, Kongming curiously asks about the precious items, and Lin Yuan replies that they are preparations for the shop's future development. Soon, the girl struggles in carrying two large boxes, with the aquarium containing the selected goldfish precariously balanced on top, prompting concern as Lin Yuan offers to help. As soon as he speaks, the box loses balance and crashes down, sending the aquarium sliding through the air. Kongming reacts instantly, leaping forward to catch it, shouting in alarm. Instead, he is drenched as water splashes all over him, and upon opening his eyes, he realizes the fish is missing. Fortunately, swiftly grabs the tail of the spear-absorbing golden fish midair, saving it from disaster. Lin Yuan and Kongming both breathe a sigh of relief as the tension finally dissipates. The deliveryman scolds his colleague while she repeatedly apologizes, but Lin Yuan waves it off calmly, whereas Kongming secretly imagines the fish as a delicious braised dish. Circles the massive shipment in awe, and Kongming jokingly asks if Lin Yuan plans to open a farm, to which he confidently replies that expansion means greater profits. Lin Yuan then sends the two upstairs to focus on cultivation, reminding Kongming to study the materials in his Star Network account, while Kongming reluctantly agrees and grabs some cookies. Approaching the aquarium, Lin Yuan activates his spirit-locking ability to begin the next step. After an hour absorbing pure spiritual energy, the goldfish grows significantly, outgrowing its tank, prompting Lin Yuan to remark that advancing it from common to elite consumes far more energy than Qinglu despite similar gains. His gaze shifts to the towering pile of ore as he contemplates how to transfer it all into the spirit-locking space. 2 days later, the goldfish swims freely within the vast spirit transformation lake, while Mobius expresses envy of its freedom compared to his own lonely existence. Lin Yuan, exhausted from transporting over 500 kilograms of ore, notes that the space has reached spiritual saturation and can only expand further once Mobius evolves, currently holding over 5 times the external density. Continuously absorbing spiritual energy, the spirit-absorbing golden fish shows astonishing growth, reinforcing Lin Yuan's expectations for it as a key product. Hoping to awaken its dragon bloodline through the dragon crystal branch, Lin Yuan is reminded by Mobius that genuine dragon blood is required and extremely costly. Undeterred, Lin Yuan presents several strange boxes to Mobius, intending to rapidly upgrade spirit beasts for profit to address his financial challenges. Placing his hand on one box, Lin Yuan reveals his plan to enhance web-spraying beasts, aiming for something more remarkable than the well-selling elite Qing Luo. When Mobius questions the need for upgrading inside the space, Lin Yuan explains that spiritual energy conversion there is 5 times faster than outside. Activating his ability, the spiders quickly break through to a new level under the abundant energy, reaching epic quality. Satisfied with the results, Lin Yuan notes that achieving epic quality takes just over 2 hours inside the space, compared to more than 10 hours outside. Just then, Lin Yuan's phone buzzes with 2 payments, prompting him to plan auctioning the upgraded web-spraying beasts, while Mobius warns him not to become money-obsessed. His joy is interrupted by a notification of 500 Federation dollars from Lord Zun Lin requesting daily live streams, sparking a troubling suspicion. Within moments, Lin Yuan's expression twists into one of disbelief. He rushes upstairs as the strange singing continues, hinting at hope and transformation in the lyrics. Bursting into the room, he catches Kongming and in the act. Despite their excuses, he discovers a livestream showing as a masked female singer, with chat comments praising her voice and appearance. Reading the comments, Lin Yuan freezes in stunned silence. After grasping the situation, he reprimands the duo and confiscates the account, while proudly reveals that her name was chosen by Kongming to stand out. Lin Yuan turns toward the sneaky black cat Kongming, who chokes on his water while awkwardly justifying the idea as a productive use of time. Though initially annoyed, Lin Yuan ultimately relaxes, reasoning that the new account has few followers and that Um's passion for singing is harmless. He sighs and concedes, unaware that will one day become a prominent live-streaming star. Overjoyed, the two celebrate with a high-five upon hearing Lin Yuan's approval. Nevertheless, Lin Yuan sternly sets boundaries, limiting rewards to 500 Federation dollars and suggesting a shift toward voice acting rather than relying on appearance. The duo eagerly rushes back to their room, and Lin Yuan smiles at their simple happiness. Observing the scene, Mobius remarks with amusement on the duo's interesting antics, though Lin Yuan remains preoccupied. He reflects seriously on how to evolve Mobius, noting that the spirit-locking space has reached its limit, and that further progress requires upgrading other spirit beasts within the constraints of his own level. This creates a frustrating cycle where Mobius' evolution depends on conditions that themselves require his advancement. Mobius proposes a simple solution: stop pursuing high-quality upgrades. Lin Yuan firmly rejects the idea, insisting that only high-quality spirit beasts can realize their full value and potential. Turning away, he lists the necessary resources: at least 3 drops of dragon beast blood for the dragon crystal spear-absorbing golden fish, and for Bei Luli to reach legendary quality, compound ancestral soil, 2 redwood tree hearts, and 1 liter of herbal spring water, prompting him to contact Jujiaxin. The call connects swiftly, and Jujiaxin greets Lin Yuan warmly. Upon hearing his request for dragon beast blood, Jujiaxin excitedly removes her face mask, realizing he is indeed a major client, and quickly checks the prices. She explains that gold rank dragon beast blood costs about 80 radiance coins per drop, while platinum rank costs 2,000 per drop, with discounts available for bulk purchases. The sudden silence makes her think the call has dropped, but in truth, Lin Yuan is stunned as the prices far exceed his financial capacity. Regaining composure, Lin Yuan changes the order, requesting 2,000 kilograms of low-grade energy stones and 3 common spear-absorbing golden fish, which Jujiaxin readily accepts. After the call, Jujiaxin calculates that with such consumption, he will soon require dragon beast blood, prompting her to prepare stock for this promising client. 2 hours later, Mobius watches the goldfish swimming in the lake and remarks on the rapid replenishment of supplies. Lin Yuan sighs in relief as 5 web-spraying beasts finally reach epic quality, though his remaining funds drop to less than 4 radiance coins and over half the space's spiritual energy is depleted. While releasing more fish into the lake, he wistfully comments on how wonderful it would be to live as carefree as they do. Suddenly, the goldfish become chaotic, fiercely competing with one another, leaving Lin Yuan bewildered. Wondering why they fight despite sharing the spacious spirit transformation lake, he receives a blunt explanation from Mobius that he has been too naive. Mobius elaborates that survival follows ruthless natural laws where the strong dominate, and no creature willingly shares its spiritual energy, even with its own kind. Lin Yuan nods, concluding that this principle widens the gap between the strong and the weak, earning Mobius' approving remark. Mobius adds that nature also seeks balance and offers to temporarily stabilize the aggressive instincts of the dragon crystal spear-absorbing golden fish, predicting the remaining 3 will evolve to elite within 5 days. Reassured, Lin Yuan agrees and turns his attention back to the ore pile, preparing to replenish more materials. His gaze suddenly fixes on his phone screen and surprises the elite Qing Luo stock sells out rapidly. Mobius suggests simply upgrading more web-spraying beasts, leading Lin Yuan to decide it is time to restock and deliver the goods. However, upon entering the virtual shop, Lin Yuan hears a heated argument, sensing the tense atmosphere immediately. Inside, a reed-haired girl angrily accuses a monk-like young man of taking her share, while he calmly cites Buddhist teachings against conflict. Losing patience, she grabs his collar and challenges him, dismissing his spiritual rhetoric and daring him to confront her in reality. At that moment, Lin Yuan intervenes by summoning spirit beasts to suppress the situation, ordering them to take their quarrel outside. The appearance of numerous spirit beasts instantly silences the room, and the girl stares in astonishment upon recognizing the web-spraying beasts. The monk is equally stunned, speculating that such craftsmanship belongs to a 2-star creator, while the girl confirms their epic quality before Lin Yuan clarifies that these customized spirits are not for sale. Hearing this, both eagerly inquire about the conditions for customization, but Lin Yuan declines, stating he will not accept orders until at least next month. Exchanging glances, they then ask about the availability of elite Qingluo, and Lin Yuan hesitantly apologizes, explaining that it is sold out and will no longer be offered. He swiftly pitched the upcoming stock bronze ear gongs and top-grade spirit-absorbing goldfish, open for pre-orders now. The reed-haired girl bid 5 liquor coins for the gong, while another calmly countered with 8 for the goldfish. Lin Yuan realized both were deep-pocketed regulars. Pleased to skip market research, Lin Yuan cut them off, warning that further chaos would land them on the shop's blacklist. The two exchanged glances and instantly quieted, reminding themselves to stay composed. As calm returned, Lin Yuan wiped his sweat and planned clearer shop rules before leaving. The old monk said he awaited good news from Lin Shizhu and vanished. Seeing the reed-haired girl linger, Lin Yuan asked her purpose. She politely inquired if he offered healing for spirit creatures. Slightly surprised, Lin Yuan asked for details, and she revealed the creature's origin had been severely damaged. With the old monk gone, a peaceful silence filled the space. Another hesitant woman asked the same question about healing spirit creatures, despite Lin Yuan confirming none were for sale. Turning to listen, Lin Yuan learned that her spirit creature's origin was gravely injured. Frowning in thought, he admitted he could attempt treatment if the creature was below silver tier. The woman's eyes lit up with hope for saving her daughter's spirit creature. Lin Yuan froze in disbelief upon learning it belonged to her daughter, as the woman appeared far too young. She displayed the creature's data. Her daughter's bronze ear spirit plant had its roots burned by a horned demon near a spatial stream. The name shocked Lin Yuan. The horned demon's withering flames were nearly fatal to plant-type spirits, explaining the deep-rooted damage. Bowing gratefully, the woman asked about the cost, admitting she lacked funds now but promised to pay next month. Reassuring her, Lin Yuan requested no money, only recovery soil shown on his screen, leaving the woman stunned at her good fortune. After exchanging contact details, she promised to find the material, delighting Lin Yuan, who agreed to discuss payment later if needed. Internally, he marveled at her extensive connections capable of obtaining even recovery soil. With materials mostly resolved herbal spring water purchasable in redwood requiring auction access, everything began falling into place. Dismissing idle thoughts, Lin Yuan focused on delivering the silk-spitting spiders to Yin Zhongxi Liao and notified her that the goods were ready. A gust sliced through the air, and in moments, the young girl's figure appeared. Staring wide-eyed, she joked that Lin Yuan must be hacking the game, having obtained 5 corpse-handling beasts in just a few days. Lin Yuan stayed silent as the girl excitedly inspected the 5 silk-spitting spiders, proudly claiming her lucky streak would yield transparent silk and urging him to ship them quickly. With a teasing grin, Lin Yuan warned that one spider possessed a deadly poison skill and joked that her hair might be at risk. The girl immediately removed her yellow hat to reveal her short, regrowing hair, retorting that the burn wasn't intentional and her hair was coming back anyway. She put her hat back on, transferred 10 liquor coins, and left briskly. Watching her, Lin Yuan mused about her fairy temper and decided it was time to expand his business. Soon a new production system was established, boosting output while Lin Yuan accumulated funds and knowledge. Longing on his bed and browsing his phone, Lin Yuan noted with satisfaction that the spirit-absorbing golden bull-chasing butterflies were selling extremely well and planned to order more. Just then, Zhang interrupted his thoughts, joking about studying too much. Lin Yuan noticed its unusual eyes and asked if they were strained from overlearning. Tilting its head, Zhang asked about the complexity of spirit creature evolution, wondering how they could survive if evolution didn't solely enhance survival or combat abilities. The difficult question made Lin Yuan pause, realizing that such theoretical concepts required a concrete example. He led Zhang to the spirit plant area and asked if it knew the Qingluo plant, to which Zhang replied that it ate it every day. Guiding the discussion, Lin Yuan asked how it would evolve for survival. Zhang playfully suggested losing its leaves and gaining poison to avoid being eaten. Amused, Lin Yuan joked that it wanted to become a poisonous cactus, while Zhang enthusiastically added that it should also endure without daily water. Recognizing the flawed logic, Lin Yuan gently corrected it, but Zhang protested, insisting its survival-focused evolution was optimal. To clarify, Lin Yuan presented the plant's true evolution form, the bronze-ear Qingluo, leaving Zhang puzzled by its difference from its expectations. Tasting a leaf, Lin Yuan found it refreshingly pleasant and hinted that the plant actually wanted to be eaten, giving Zhang a confirming thumbs-up. He explained that Qingluo evolved to provide delicious nourishment, encouraging surrounding creatures to care for and cultivate it, thereby securing its place in the ecosystem. Still unconvinced, Zhang preferred evolving to be innatable, facepalming at its naivety. Lin Yuan suggested a relaxing outing, prompting Wayne to chirp excitedly that it wanted to join. The trio strolled through the neonlit city as Yin perched on Lin Yuan's head, blissfully enjoying the fresh air after being cooped up indoors due to their online shopping habit. A plaza screen broadcast City Lord Lang Xiao announcing a reform: anyone completing the 1-star creator exam within 2 hours could skip the second life profession test and advance directly to the 2-star creator exam. The news electrified the group. Lin Yuan resolved to seize the chance to reach 2-star status, with Yin pledging wholehearted support. Their excitement faded as another report warned that spatial rifts would intensify in 6 months, heralding a beast tide and placing the Radiance Federation on combat readiness, while Lin Yuan froze at the sight of 2 familiar uniformed figures. The broadcast added that the Zhenling Division would be mobilized during the rift surge to combat the beast tide. The name Zhenling Division dragged Lin Yuan into buried memories of asking where his parents were going. In the memory, his parents reassured Xiao Yuan to care for Xiaosi, promising they would return by morning. The recollection shifted to an apology informing him that his parents would not return. Xiaosi tearfully asked about their parents, only to learn they were gone forever. Amid sobs, Lin Yuan vowed to take care of his sibling from then on. The memory ended with 2 dark-red-stained badges resting silently in his palm. Lin Yuan snapped back to reality as Yin Yin pecked him, and Zhu Neng bit his leg to get his attention, asking if he was alright. He quickly hugged them both, gently reassuring that he was fine and suggesting they return home. Though calm on the surface, Lin Yuan realized internally that the badges belonged to the Zhenling division. That night, while the house slept, he sat alone at his computer, searching for concealed information. Dense data revealed a chilling truth: the spatial rift disaster in Shi District a decade ago was directly linked to the Zhenling division. An urgent Federation bulletin detailed the catastrophe: an underground spatial rift unleashed hordes of subterranean creatures, followed by the Levolve Swamp Twin Dragons and the Level 5 corrosive Silkbone Fiend, leaving many injured and missing as the Zhenling division fought to seal the rift. Reading further, Lin Yuan felt uneasy as the name rang a bell. Mobius had seemingly gathered data about it not long ago. He sprang up, eyes sharp, deducing that the corrosive bone script was a suicidal, mutual destruction skill activated by the corrosive silk bone fiend only as a last resort. At that moment, the image of Uncle Li surfaced in his mind, leaving Lin Yuan stunned at having remained unaware for so many years. His thoughts converged on a realization: his parents were also members of the Zhenling division, where the remaining 2 badges were kept. Previously scattered clues now connected seamlessly, forming a coherent chain of reasoning. Surrounded by peril lava seas to the south, eternal ice to the north, deserts to the west, and deadly swamps to the east, the Radiance Federation survived in a narrow refuge, with the Zhenling division secretly defending against invading aberrations. A heavy feeling gripped his chest as he wondered why his parents had never told him about their dangerous profession. Driven by instinct, he flipped the bloodstained badge and discovered an engraved number 2037. This was his parents' internal identification code within the Zhenling division, prompting Lin Yuan to attempt further investigation. His fingers flew across the keyboard as he entered the code, hoping to uncover more information. However, the screen immediately turned red with an access denied warning, leaving Lin Yuan frowning in frustration. After a moment's thought, he realized he had reached a clearance limit and carefully stored the badge away, noting that Uncle Li and Zhang were at the hospital for a checkup, leaving no one to consult. Returning to bed, he remained restless, eventually concluding that Uncle Li, an old friend of his parents with lingering injuries, was likely a former member of the Zhenling division who knew the truth. Knock knock. The sudden sound of knocking shattered the night's silence, putting Lin Yuan on high alert as he dismissed the possibility of Zhang and her husband returning. Approaching the door cautiously, he reasoned that neither acquaintances nor online clients would appear unannounced so late, raising the question of the visitor's identity. The altered knocking rhythm heightened his unease, sparking the grim suspicion that his evolution abilities had been exposed, and someone had come seeking him. Sensing his tension, Yin Yin and Zhu Neng awoke. While they speculated playfully about the visitor, Lin Yuan quietly dismissed their guesses. Despite his calm demeanor, he remained vigilant, instructing Yin Yin to unleash turbulent flow and sonic strike if anything suspicious entered. After preparing, Lin Yuan took a deep breath, opened the door slightly, and politely asked who they were looking for. Outside stood 2 unfamiliar civil servants. The middle-aged man reassured him, and asked if he was the son of Lin Jian and Chu Qing. Hearing his parents' names made Lin Yuan's heart race, yet he calmly inquired whether they knew his parents. The woman then presented a familiar golden badge, gently remarking that he should understand upon seeing it, and expressing surprise at how much he had grown. The tension eased as the visitors introduced themselves as Su Jin and Tong Hai, revealing they located Lin Yuan after he accessed the Zhenling division's internal database. Still wary yet understanding, Lin Yuan began to ask about his parents. Tong Hai emotionally presented an aged cloth, explaining the chaotic aftermath of the battle and apologizing for arriving late without the news Lin Yuan most hoped for. Unable to remain calm, Lin Yuan trembled as he accepted and unfolded the cloth, asking what it was. The cloth bore hurried but heartfelt words: Xiao Yuan, Xiaosu, may your future paths be smooth and safe. Recognizing his mother's handwriting, Lin Yuan lowered his head, unable to stop tears from welling up. Seeing this, Tong Hai explained that the dangers of the Zhenling division led Zhang Yi and Li Shu to keep the truth secret while quietly caring for the siblings, urging Lin Yuan not to blame them. Composing himself, Lin Yuan wiped his tears and gratefully acknowledged that thanks to Zhang Yi and Li Shu, he and his sister had grown up safely. Tong Hai placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder, promising support whenever Lin Yuan might need it. Noticing the conversation drifting, Su Jin coughed softly, prompting Tong Hai to remember another important item. He carefully produced a preserved box, explaining it was attained using all of Lin Yuan's parents' merits with Zhang Liao's help, prompting Lin Yuan to ask about its contents. Upon opening the box, Lin Yuan discovered a uniquely glowing crystal which Su Jin identified as a source seed. Su Jin explained that spatial rifts generate origin-type treasures, and this source seed could close a level to a rift once its associated items vanished. Observing Lin Yuan's interest, Tong Hai added that the seed suited him well, especially given his weak constitution that made contracting spirit creatures taxing. He further clarified that nurturing the source seed required only blood, not spiritual or mental energy. Holding the crystal, Lin Yuan pondered the concept of cultivating such a seed. Su Jin elaborated that it could be raised into a spirit creature with customizable abilities, recommending a healing-oriented evolution for Lin Yuan's condition. Feeling the warmth of the seed, Lin Yuan considered various possibilities, acknowledging that a healing path fit his current needs. However, he realized that healing alone was insufficient for establishing a strong foundation, and he also required combat power like the Tianzai Phoenix Butterfly. Additionally, Sujin and Tonghai gifted him 2 orange Central Federation bank cards containing 100 liquor coins each as personal compensation for the past decade. Understanding his situation, Lin Yuan politely refused the monetary gifts, insisting he could not accept them. With his other hand, he gently pushed the half-open door wider. His gaze firm, Lin Yuan declared that he was now doing well and had 2 reliable companions, as Juneng leapt onto his shoulder and Yin Yin fluttered before him. Despite Lin Yuan's refusal, Tonghai insisted, combining the 2 bank cards and pressing them into his hands, declaring that his decision alone was enough. Meanwhile, Sujin quietly assessed Lin Yuan's 2 spirit beasts, noting that both the Bakeson beast and Yin Yin were only at elite level and lacked real combat strength compared to peers. After deliberation, Sujin interrupted Tonghai and asked if Lin Yuan wanted to learn more about his parents' work, leaving Tonghai momentarily stunned. She proposed taking him to observe the Junling division at a level in spatial rift connected to the insect realm in Xia district, warning of potential risks. Lin Yuan immediately accepted, expressing firm determination not to miss this opportunity after losing so much time in the past. Internally, he resolved to prepare for the impending chaos of spatial rifts and the approaching beast tide within the next 6 months. Pleased by his resolve, Sujin praised his spirit, silently believing that Lin Jian and Chu Qing would be proud of their son. Tonghai attempted to voice concerns but was cut off by Sujin, who assigned him to clear aberrant insects while she would personally protect Lin Yuan. Activating her spiritual power, Sujin summoned a massive figure into the air and instructed Lin Yuan to prepare for departure as Mobius began analyzing it. The creature was identified as the platinum-tier Mingyu Snow Owl of perfect quality, an icy air type with multiple defensive skills, and the extreme cold trait, reflecting the defensive style of the Zhenling division. Fascinated, Yin Yin asked if it could become that powerful in the future, and Lin Yuan promised to nurture it, while Jineng eagerly expressed its desire to join the journey. Seeking permission, Lin Yuan asked Tonghai if he could bring his 2 companions, and Tonghai reluctantly agreed to ensure their safety. Once ready, the group rode the Mingyu Snow Owl into the sky. Zhoneng relaxed in delight, while Yin Yin joyfully compared the sensation to sitting on swan feathers. When asked how it knew about swan feathers, Yin Yin candidly admitted it was merely imagining the feeling. Soon they arrived at a colossal spatial rift heavily fortified and guarded. When they landed, soldiers halted them, declaring the area restricted. Tonghai presented his golden badge and identified himself as a member of the Junling division, and after verification, the soldiers saluted and granted passage. With formalities complete, a flash of white light transported the group inside the rift, where Tonghai warned of occasional aberrant insects guarded by the Zijin Guard, and Lin Yuan affirmed he would remain cautious. Contrary to expectations, chaotic noises echoed from all directions, making Juneng and Yin Yin cling to Lin Yuan as his instincts warned of approaching danger. Suddenly, a bizarre creature lunged from behind at terrifying speed, prompting Lin Yuan to exclaim in alarm. Tonghai reacted instantly, teleporting beside them and shattering the monster with a thunderous, spirit-powered punch. Witnessing this, Lin Yuan was stunned, realizing that such raw physical and spiritual strength embodied the true power of the Junling division. Sujin reassured him that most aberrant insects were only elite or bronze tier, though Lin Yuan inwardly lamented that even elite-level foes were dangerous for him. Tonghai confidently declared that he would handle the threats himself. With a wave of his hand, purple spiritual energy surged as he summoned a wolf-like spirit beast. Upon landing, its immense weight caused the surrounding space to tremble slightly. The creature's presence drew all nearby aberrations, puzzling Lin Yuan as it seemed to attract more enemies. Sensing his doubt, Tonghai laughed and explained that a proper performance required some preparation. He then issued a firm command for the hunt to begin. The beast, identified by Mobius as the platinum-tier epic-quality Shadow Terror Wolf, unleashed countless dark wolf phantoms to attack en masse, absorbing energy from prey to sustain itself. Lin Yuan watched in admiration, recognizing the wolf's impeccable cultivation, perfectly suited for prolonged, high-intensity battles. The Shadow Wolf pack swept through like a storm, annihilating every aberration without leaving survivors. Afterward, Tonghai returned with a wink, boasting that the situation was effortlessly handled. However, Lin Yuan noticed Yin Yin acting strangely. It sensed something watching them from afar. Moments later, a red aberrant beast resembling a skeletal crow locked its gaze onto the Mingyu Snow Owl. Though crow-like, its exposed bones and tattered feathers radiated an unsettling spiritual aura. Still caught up in excitement, Lin Yuan underestimated the danger, while Zhaineng relaxed in relief. Only Yin Yin remained tense, suddenly darting toward the darkness, causing Lin Yuan to shout for it to stop. In the next instant, reality shifted chillingly. Sujin and Tonghai vanished from sight. A cold realization struck Lin Yuan: this was not real but an illusion. The Mingyu Snow Owl beneath him was replaced by a terrifying skeletal creature, yet he appeared to be riding it calmly. Ahead, Tonghai and Sujin seemed unchanged, focusing on the spatial rift and conversing quietly, though the eerily silent night hinted at hidden threats. More strange flying creatures gradually appeared, prompting Tonghai to remark wryly that Sujin's predictions were uncannily accurate. Still concentrating on guiding the Mingyu Snow Owl, Sujin reassured Lin Yuan to stay seated, insisting it was merely a minor issue with Tonghai present. Surging energy makes Mingyu snap his wings shut and switch to attack mode, freezing the surrounding creatures into icy popsicles. Watching the shattered ice fall, Uncle Dong stands calmly with hands in pockets, judging this to be the journey's tensest moment so far. After a while, Aunt Su senses something amiss and anxiously asks Uncle Dong to check on the overly quiet Lin Yuan. Leaving his post, Uncle Dong inspects Lin Yuan and reassures everyone that has merely dozing off thanks to the smooth flight. Suddenly, the scenery distorts as the giant crow vanishes, sending everyone into free fall while Tongming clings to Lin Yuan in panic. Yin Yin swiftly returns and offers his body as a lifeline. Lin Yuan grabs his tiny tail while Tongming nervously urges him to hold steady. Despite flapping valiantly, Yin Yin admits he can't support the weight, and the trio continues tumbling downward as wingless Tongming screams in terror. In a comical landing, Tongming crash lands headfirst while Lin Yuan remains unharmed, suspecting the ground intentionally cushioned their fall. A mysterious voice confirms his suspicion, accusing the outsiders of hoarding resources while locals slaughter each other for scraps of energy. Lin Yuan identifies the speaker as the worn giant crow, which challenges him to a duel. Victory means Lin Yuan must stay, prompting him to question if it's a talking aberrant insect. Unfazed, the crow summons two black wolves from the void and coldly questions why humans deserve peaceful lives while labeling them aberrations. Obeying orders, the wolves attack, but Yin Yin shields Lin Yuan and unleashes a chaotic wind barrage that pierces the leading wolf. Regaining composure, Tongming joins the fight as Yin Yin urges a charge, while Tongming quips about the formidable-sounding bird and wolves. Strange purple rings appear above the crow's head as it conjures zombie-like illusions of Aunt Sue and Uncle Dong, using eye techniques to distort Yin Yin and Tongming's perception and trap them in a deathly dream. The two spirit beasts fall into confusion and are relentlessly trampled by the pack of black wolves. Despite the torment, they gaze worriedly at Lin Yuan and urge him to escape before it's too late. Unshaken, Lin Yuan activates the glowing Mobius ring and its calming power, releasing golden spiritual energy that restores the beast's clarity, leaving Tongming puzzled by the wolves' disappearance. After analyzing the attacks, Lin Yuan confidently declares the scene an illusion, noting that Aunt Sue and Uncle Dong were never drawn in because the enemy lacked the power. As Mobius scans the foe, Tandu Jiaju is startled when his secrets are effortlessly exposed by the perceptive young Lin Yuan. Driven by predator instinct, Tandu Jiaju powers up the last wolf with purple energy. Lin Yuan confirms that in this space, the threat is very real. Seeing the pitch-black crow and its multiplying wolf shadows, Lin Yuan notes the move eerily mimics Uncle Dong's spirit beast ability. Regaining composure, Lin Yuan orders Yin Yin to attack the wolves' legs and Tongming to strike their facial weak points, confident the illusionary clones are inferior. Yin Yin spreads his wings and unleashes chaotic wind currents aimed precisely at the wolves' legs. Simultaneously, Tongming lunges forward, claws targeting the enemy's nose with unwavering determination. However, Tongming's strike halts as the target's face, shielded by purple spiritual energy, remains unaffected. Lin Yuan warns Tandu Jiaju that its level is insufficient for victory. Tandu Jiaju responds with disdain, declaring that as an aberrant being, its battles require no meaning or justification. Its energy surges and body rapidly evolves to bronze level, vowing to trap them as eternal puppets, leaving Lin Yuan shocked by such evolution within an illusion. Upon completing the transformation, Tandu Jiaju attacks at terrifying speed, inflicting a deep wound on Lin Yuan and knocking him down. The origin crystal in Lin Yuan's pocket slips out and falls to the ground. As the crow preaches its twisted survival philosophy, the frenzied wolves seize the moment of Lin Yuan's vulnerability and tear into him. Lin Yuan's blood seeps into the fallen origin crystal, which absorbs it completely. In the distance, Yin Yin suffers a bitten wing and blames his weakness, while the battered Tongming struggles toward Lin Yuan despite severe injuries. Perched on a high rock, Tandu Jiaju coldly watches the carnage, proclaiming that only destruction brings eternal relief from suffering. Underestimating his foe, the crow is stunned when the Mobius ring erupts with golden spiritual energy that floods the entire space. Lin Yuan levitates as a colossal white phantom emerges behind him. Tandu Jiaju is shocked to realize the origin seed has chosen to oppose them. Summoning Yin Yin and Tongming back, Lin Yuan prepares a full counterattack, stating that while the enemy can empower spirit beasts, they can do the same, and orders a decisive strike at its weak point. Instantly, the two spirit beasts shift into enlarged spiritual forms, radiating immense power. Tongming swings his twin tails and coldly identifies the crow's beak as its critical weakness. Guided by Yin Yin, Tongming dashes at extreme speed and pierces Tandu Jiaju's proud beak, shattering its body before vanishing. It leaves a purple sigil and concedes defeat with resignation. With the enemy gone, Lin Yuan concludes that the symbol is a slaughter rune and reflects that if aberrant beings embody killing, then they too must keep fighting to survive. As the battle ends, Lin Yuan is shaken awake by Uncle Dong, who casually checks if the earlier crow encounter frightened him. Lin Yuan calmly denies any fear. Tongming wakes up drooling and clueless despite his smart name, while Yin Yin remains notably composed. Whether Uncle Dong sensed the ordeal or not, everyone is safe, and he suggests to Aunt Sue that they return, which she happily agrees to. Mingyu Xuying changes course toward the spatial rift, and upon Lin Yuan's inquiry about growing stronger, Uncle Dong confidently recommends training at the Star Tower. Returning under the cover of night, Lin Yuan gently places Tongming and Yin Yin on the bed and tucks them in. Still busy, he prepares a pot containing spirit stones and carefully places the green origin seed on top. Reflecting on the illusion, Lin Yuan deduces that the origin seed evolved after absorbing his blood, concluding that a blood contract is the key to bonding with it. To verify this theory and Aunt's advice, he decisively cuts his palm with a small knife. Letting his blood drip onto the seed, Lin Yuan watches it sprout rapidly while hearing desperate pleas for more blood, leaving him pale as his strength drains. Fortunately prepared, he channels golden spiritual energy to his other hand, slowing the blood loss and stabilizing the process. After a tense struggle, the origin seed completes its transformation into a rose-like entity, prompting Lin Yuan's relieved sigh despite significant blood loss. Healing himself with green spiritual energy, he muses that it would be ideal if this special plant possessed carnivorous absorption abilities like in the illusion. Instantly, the plant reveals sparkling eyes and a smiling expression delighting Lin Yuan, who happily names it Hongxi. Testing its diet, Lin Yuan offers a carrot, but Hongxi turns away in clear disinterest. He then tries a spirit stone, yet Hongxi again refuses, showing no enthusiasm. Noticing his own pale reflection, Lin Yuan rallies suspects the plant craves his blood again, something he can scarcely endure. At that moment, Tongming enters the room rubbing his eyes and asks why Lin Yuan is still awake. Lin Yuan reassures him that everything is fine and acknowledges the hard efforts of Tongming and Yin Yin the previous day. With keen perception, Tongming notices the new plant, and Lin Yuan proudly introduces Hongxi as their newest companion. Excited and slightly jealous, Tongming jumps onto the table and wonders if Hongxi will be as powerful as in the illusion, asking when he himself will grow stronger. Lin Yuan comforts him, explaining that both spirit beasts are currently at elite level and will experience significant power boosts upon reaching the bronze level. Having overheard the conversation, Yin Yin eagerly flies over, curious to join in. With everyone gathered, Lin Yuan announces their focus on recovery and preparation for a bronze-level breakthrough, while Mobius displays Tongming's status as Elite 1010. A week later, Lin Yuan leads the group to the courtyard to begin training, with Hongxi observing from the side as Yin Yin and Tongming confidently signal their readiness. Lin Yuan, brimming with confidence after full recovery and improved spiritual purity from nurturing the origin seed, believes breaking through to bronze level is a breeze. As he begins, blue spiritual energy envelops Yin Yin, merging with Lin Yuan's golden power, leaving Tongming utterly amazed. Upon completion, Yin Yin emerges dazzlingly transformed, skipping the expected intermediate stage and presenting new trait options to Lin Yuan. After careful consideration, Lin Yuan selects the clear sky trait, hoping to manipulate the environment and overturn unfavorable situations. Tongming admires Yin Yin's stunning new appearance, while Yin Yin jokes about being ready to sing and livestream like a true star. Eager for his turn, Tongming bounces impatiently as Lin Yuan reassures him to stay calm. However, as the spiritual energy flows in, Lin Yuan senses something amiss despite discomfort. Tongming insists the process must not be stopped. Understanding his companion's determination, Lin Yuan increases the spiritual output while puzzling over the unexpected reaction despite Tongming's stable energy. Suddenly, Tongming's nose twitches, and he unleashes a thunderous sneeze that startles everyone. After the dramatic sneeze, Tongming glows brightly, leaving Lin Yuan stunned as the evolution seemingly completes. Yin Yin brings a mirror, and Tongming, noticing his scholarly new look, contrasts sharply with Yin Yin's transformation and gains distinctly different traits. Lin Yuan evaluates the options. One reduces environmental interference, another boosts damage, and the last involves a clear trade-off. Surprisingly, Tongming chooses the gasification trait, reasoning that as a non-combatant, the other options offer little benefit. Lin Yuan pats his head with a helpless smile, teasing that Tongming has once again chosen the laziest yet safest path. Embarrassed, Tongming urges Lin Yuan to proceed while Yin Yin playfully cheers him on, soon revealing Tongming's updated information. Testing the ability, Lin Yuan conjures a pair of glasses, though Tongming laments its simplicity. Wearing them grants Lin Yuan enhanced clarity and perception. Through the lenses, Lin Yuan can view Yin Yin's detailed data and even sense fleeting thoughts, while comprehensive knowledge about their species automatically surfaces, satisfying him greatly. His gaze then shifts to Hongxi, and a craving voice echoes in his mind, aberrant insect, making Lin Yuan realize its desired nourishment. Without hesitation, he departs to gather aberrant insect corpses, a task that proves relatively easy and abundant. The required quantity is swiftly secured without any obstacles. Unbeknownst to him, someone from behind silently observes Lin Yuan as he leaves. The observer narrows their eyes, pondering why Lin Yuan seeks aberrant corpses instead of new spirit beasts, and what unique cultivation path he intends to pursue. Shortly after, Lin Yuan returns with a large haul, surprised by how readily everything had been prepared, and presents the corpses to Hongxi with confidence. Hongxi immediately extends its tender branches in anticipation. Instead of reaching for Lin Yuan, it wraps around all the aberrant corpses and devours them in one gulp, leaving him utterly astonished. After devouring everything, Hongxi glows intensely, prompting Lin Yuan to marvel that it's already on the verge of evolution. In an instant, its vines swell dramatically and its size multiplies, while all its updated spirit beast information becomes clear. Even as the data appears, the still hungry Hongxi gathers the remaining scraps and gulps them down with its terrifying maw. Lin Yuan rubs his forehead helplessly, noting its alarming appetite and corrosive digestive fluid, while Tongming reassures him that it's simply starving. Calculating the costs, Lin Yuan realizes Hongxi's enormous appetite will drain resources quickly, questioning whether shop profits can keep pace. When his account balance appears, the surprisingly large figure makes him pause and smile in astonishment. Reviewing transaction data, he is further shocked by the soaring demand for current products, confirming the urgent need to restock. At that moment, his communication device flashes with an impatient message. After reading it, Lin Yuan chuckles, recognizing the sender's continued generosity as understandable given their past encounters with dangerous aberrants. Closing the interface and stretching, Lin Yuan prepares to restock, but Yin Yin and Tongming eagerly request to accompany him, seeking to test their abilities. Tongming explains that since the spatial rift incident, they want to prove their strength and face aberrants without repeating past helplessness. Yin Yin excitedly adds that they might even become heroes, surprising Lin Yuan with such ambition. Tongming seriously remarks that heroism isn't exclusive to the Federation. He recalls a notable past incident in a major city. In that event, a single individual held off aberrants for an extended period, preventing a widespread catastrophe. Lin Yuan praises Tong Ming's knowledge, gently stroking his fur in admiration. Tong Ming smugly replies that besides reading books, he occasionally keeps up with the news. Curious, Yin Yin asks what ultimately happened to that heroic individual. The scene shifts to Zhou Jia-sin's shop, where tension rises as an employee questions the riskiness of her current decisions, prompting her coldly to challenge their doubts. The staff continue highlighting inconsistencies in investments and partnerships, expressing concern over impending financial risks. Amid the tension, Lin Yuan arrives and calmly remarks that he seems to have come at an awkward moment during their debate. Zhou Jia-sin quickly masks her emotions with a smile, claiming they were merely discussing business plans. Getting straight to the point, Lin Yuan places a massive order: 3,000 aberrant corpses, 5,000 jin of low-grade energy ore, 40 common spirit-absorbing goldfish, and 5 elite perfect-quality web-spraying beasts, with immediate payment. The enormous order leaves the two employees stunned, especially given the instant payment. Relieved, Zhou Jia-sin regains her authority and commands the staff to properly receive Lin Yuan, introducing him as their esteemed partner. The employees' attitudes shift instantly to respectful hospitality, while Lin Yuan silently reflects on the dramatic change. At the display area, Zhou Jia-sin introduces the common spirit-absorbing goldfish, then intriguingly presents a special pregnant female of the Five-Fortune Ranchu variety, leaving Lin Yuan momentarily stunned. Lin Yuan quickly realizes that the Five-Fortune Ranchu can produce massive offspring, and with proper care, raising them is entirely feasible, prompting an instant decision. He decides to purchase it and also requests early delivery of the dragon beast blood from his previous order, while Zhou Jia-sin subtly forms her own suspicions. After the invoice is finalized, the overly enthusiastic staff escort him out, leaving Lin Yuan reflecting on their sudden change in attitude. Tong Ming hops onto his shoulder and asks about their next destination. Lin Yuan smiles and suggests heading to the Star Tower to test their strength. The Star Tower is a special structure within the Star Network, serving as a hub for training, duels, and countless intense battles. Gazing up at the towering structure, Tong Ming is awestruck and excitedly explains the climbing mechanism, while Lin Yuan chuckles and reminds him not to aim too high at once. Lin Yuan approaches the registration desk to sign up, but the attendant responds indifferently, instructing him to fill in the information himself. Though Tong Ming feels displeased, Lin Yuan calms him and carefully completes the registration form. Shortly after, the system confirms his application and requests that he remain still for the Spirit Beast recording process. Instantly, the screen floods with data. Tian Wen Beast and Lu Wen City Mink are both common bronze level 1, while Mobius is classified as Epic Elite 7 with no battle records. The attendant scoffs at his seemingly unimpressive lineup. Hearing this, Tong Ming's eyes light up with excitement, realizing he might be a unique low-level spirit beast, and the attendant reluctantly agrees. Although Lin Yuan initially planned to deploy Baihe Lily, Mobia's unique aura is automatically factored into his overall strength by the system. Circling above, Yin Yin curiously asks which floor is required to encounter a 100 battle-level opponent. Lin Yuan gently taps Yin Yin's beak and sternly reminds him not to indulge in unrealistic fantasies. Yin Yin shyly retreats while a nearby staff member advises that such opponents usually appear beyond the 100th floor. Lowering his voice, the staff member warns that recent unusual activities make it wise for newcomers to avoid certain formidable individuals. Lin Yuan unconsciously clenches his fist, excitement surging at the prospect of facing powerful adversaries. Soon after being teleported into the preparation room, Lin Yuan is astonished to find that both terrain and weather of the battlefield can be customized. Tong Ming reviews the opponent's data and reports that the first match is against a veteran of 471 battles. However, Lin Yuan calmly deduces that their highest achievement of only the 3rd floor suggests frequent defeats. The interface shifts as the team enters a vast grassland arena under a clear sky with no special environmental mechanics. Lin Yuan pats Tong Ming's shoulder encouragingly, assigning him to handle the first battle. Tong Ming's furry face immediately droops in annoyance, teasing Lin Yuan for watching too many cartoons. Opposite them stands a frail old man who schemes to secure an easy victory against a newcomer, causing Tong Ming to hesitate, but Lin Yuan firmly pushes him forward to face the challenge. In a flash, the old man's demeanor shifts as he fiercely commands his gray armored beetle to use urgent barrier. Before Lin Yuan can issue orders, the lazy Tong Ming casually swipes a paw, instantly flipping the beetle onto its back in defeat. The sudden outcome leaves everyone stunned as the old man collapses beside his spirit beast, wailing dramatically and accusing the younger generation of cruelty. Embarrassed, Lin Yuan explains that this is the Star Network and the spirit beast is unharmed, while Tong Ming hides his face, wishing they had switched roles. Immediately entering the next match, the battlefield transforms into a ruined city at night where damaged structures can collapse under sufficient impact. The opponent deploys 2 spirit beasts, commanding the yellow-spotted hound to use tracking position, while Lin Yuan orders the curled tusk boar to strike its weak point with tusk charge. Despite being pressured from both sides, Lin Yuan remains calm and decisively commands Yin Yin to use sound pierce. Yin Yin's figure nearly vanishes as it dashes across the battlefield at extreme speed, sweeping both enemy beasts away. The match ends astonishingly quickly, leaving the opponent lamenting how a bronze-level spirit beast could appear on the 1st floor. Lin Yuan merely shrugs with a faint smile, apologizing lightly for the overwhelming victory. After the easy win, he teases Tong Ming about preparing for the next battle, but the chubby cat refuses, frustrated at not having the chance to act. Lin Yuan gently pats Tong Ming's head, reassuring him that a worthy opponent will appear soon. He then checks the system interface to review the details of the upcoming challenger. The data reveals Huang Qinglin, a 27-year-old offensive-type professional with 3 superior bronze-level Spirit Beast, Poison Fire Python, Mist Coil Python, and Marsh Python, indicating strong self-confidence. Hearing this, Tongming's enthusiasm reignites while Yin Yin circles excitedly, eager for a real challenge. Energized by their spirits, Lin Yuan enters the new battle set within a confined arena surrounded by solid rock walls. Opposite him, Huang Qinglin stands arrogantly with folded arms, mocking Lin Yuan for daring to appear as a newcomer. Laughing scornfully, Huang Qinglin ridicules Lin Yuan for bringing only a cat and a bird, suggesting he has come merely for a stroll. The 2 spirit beasts momentarily freeze, clearly targeted by the insults. Continuing his taunts, Huang Qinglin mocks Lin Yuan's healing profession, joking that the bird might as well cook bird's nest soup mid-battle. Unfazed, Lin Yuan transforms Tongming into a pair of glasses and coldly interrupts, declaring himself ready to begin. Smirking with disdain, Huang Qinglin agrees to start, claiming that using half his strength will suffice to defeat the newcomer. Through the transparent lenses, Lin Yuan quickly analyzes the situation, realizing that the contractor's arrogance directly exposes weaknesses in his spirit beasts. Without hesitation, Lin Yuan points toward the 3 pythons and commands Yin Yin to strike their abdomens with sound pierce. Following orders, Yin Yin spread its wings and dashed forward like a feathery missile. From above, it unleashed a barrage of sharp strikes aimed straight at the target. The enemy reacted swiftly as 3 giant snakes spewed corrosive liquid, forming a dense acid mist that blocked the assault. Lin Yuan paused briefly, using acid fog as a shield. Clever trick. Growing smug, Huang Qinglin mocked that without Lin Yuan's cat, the lone bird wasn't worth worrying about. Patience snapping, Lin Yuan roared and ordered Yin Yin to close in and strike the head of the total mist python. Huang Qinglin retorted harshly, commanding the poison fire python to breathe fire for a swift execution. A blazing pillar of fire surged toward Yin Yin, while Huang Qinglin sneered that this being the starnet saved the bird from a grave. Facing the inferno, Lin Yuan calmly activated his trump card Mobius, opening the spirit-locking space. A layer of azure light instantly spread, shielding Yin Yin like a sturdy barrier. With this defense, Yin Yin pierced through the flames and knocked one python flying away. Lin Yuan decisively declared that he would now fight with full strength. In truth, he had already secretly instructed Bei Lily to provide healing support to Yin Yin. The sudden shift in momentum made Huang Qinglin's expression darken as he threatened to strike without mercy. Tension soared as Huang Qinglin ordered the green snake to charge forward at extreme speed. Lin Yuan immediately warned Yin Yin to dodge. He realized the grim reality facing 3 spiritual creatures alone was pushing Yin Yin beyond its limits. Even the sustaining spiritual energy for recovery wouldn't last much longer. At that moment, Tongming transmitted that it had analyzed the poison mechanisms of the Total Mist Python and Poison Fire Python, allowing Lin Yuan to prepare a counterattack. Lin Yuan promptly ordered Yin Yin to target the eyes of the Poison Fire Python and eliminate one enemy first. Without hesitation, Yin Yin accelerated with decisive momentum. Its attack spearheaded directly toward the coiled target ahead. Huang Qinglin smirked confidently, commanding the Poison Fire Python to intensify flames while the Total Mist Python blocked Yin Yin's retreat. In an instant, roaring flames surged on one side. On the other, dense toxic gas sealed off Yin Yin's escape routes. However, Lin Yuan's eyes gleamed with a smile as he seized the moment, ordering Yin Yin to use turbulent flow. The skill activated, forming a violent vortex that mixed both fire and poison together. The reaction triggered an explosive blast, creating a massive fireball that engulfed the area. Seeing the Poison Fire Python knocked unconscious, Huang Qinglin frowned and dismissed it as useless. In contrast, Lin Yuan praised Yin Yin softly, satisfied with its tactical ingenuity. Cold sweat appeared on Huang Qinglin's forehead as he recalled being relegated to the Star Tower to scout threats to the young master. The memory fueled his anxiety. He absolutely could not afford to lose. With inner turmoil, he gritted his teeth and ordered the Poison Fire Python to continue breathing fire at the bird. Lin Yuan maintained steady control, instructing Yin Yin to circle and keep its distance. Meanwhile, Tongming completed its scan and precisely marked the Poison Fire Python's weakness. Lin Yuan realized his opponent struggled to control multiple spiritual creatures simultaneously. Patience would turn the tide. He immediately commanded Yin Yin once more to use turbulent flow. The raging vortex rose again, forcing Huang Qinglin back as he shouted to maximize both fire and poison. Using the data from his glasses, Lin Yuan pinpointed the perfect timing and ordered Yin Yin to prepare the sonic sting. The moment the python opened its mouth to breathe fire, he shouted, "Now's the time!" The attack shot deep into its mouth, interrupting the energy buildup. The flames backfired, scorching the creature from the inside. Lin Yuan smiled with satisfaction, praising Yin Yin's excellent performance. Huang Qinglin angrily pointed at him, spewing irritated insults. Meanwhile, he secretly signaled the last python to counterattack, challenging Lin Yuan to face him head-on. Lin Yuan merely shrugged, coldly mocking Huang Qinglin for boasting despite fighting 3 against 1. Pure spiritual power flowed from Lin Yuan's palm into the spirit-absorbing golden fish hovering beside Yin Yin. The skill activated, cloaking Yin Yin in living armor. It chirped happily, while Lin Yuan marveled at how spirit-locking functioned like a powerful combat buff. Suddenly, the ground trembled as a high-pressure water column erupted, and Huang Qinglin laughed triumphantly, declaring Lin Yuan had fallen into a trap. The surging water surrounded the spirit creature, prompting Lin Yuan to urgently order Yin Yin to evade as his spiritual energy recovery was disrupted. From within the massive water mass, the marsh water python emerged and launched a fierce assault, revealing the opponent's hidden trump card. Lin Yuan was momentarily astonished. Huang Qinglin burst into wild laughter, boasting that warfare thrives on deception. Gritting his teeth, Lin Yuan decided to gamble and ordered Yin Yin to use Sunbath. Obeying the command, Yin Yin spun midair and soared upward. Radiant light burst from its body, shining like a second sun in the sky. As the marsh water python charged, it suddenly halted, the surrounding water instantly evaporating. Losing its support, the heavy body crashed straight to the ground. Its form shriveled from extreme dehydration, leaving Lin Yan stunned by the terrifying power of the light. Huang Qinglin stood frozen, sweating profusely as he muttered in disbelief about descending from a higher level. Echoes of past humiliation weighed on his mind, his eyes reddening with uncontrolled emotion. He growled that although Lin Yuan had some skill, it was unfortunate he had encountered someone like him. Huang Qinglin ordered the marshwater python to use that, causing the spirit creature to hesitate. Lin Yuan also sensed the anomaly, realizing that any command making a spirit creature hesitate was far from simple. On the battlefield, the three weakened serpents convulsed violently, using their last strength to perform a bizarre ritual. Reverse evolution was initiated. In a horrifying scene, the green serpent opened its mouth and devoured the blue one. The red serpent panicked and attempted to flee. However, the remaining serpent's tail tightly restrained it, preventing escape. Amid the chaos, they tore at each other before merging into one entity, identified by the system as the triple-spec python, bronze rank 3. The writhing mass of flesh stabilized, transforming into a terrifying three-headed creature. Huang Qinglin's eyes gleamed with madness. Lin Yuan quickly assessed that although still bronze rank, the state was highly unstable and far from normal evolution. The price soon became evident as blood flowed from Huang Qinglin's eyes, yet he laughed, claiming he had merely forced the ancient species back to its original form. Tongming urgently warned that turbulent flow could no longer suppress it. Seeing Yin Yin growing exhausted, Tongming offered to intervene, but Lin Yuan stopped it, urging patience and closer observation. It turned out the two previously devoured heads had not fully perished, and were secretly resisting by biting back at the central green head. Tongming was stunned, unable to comprehend the unfolding situation. Seizing the fleeting opportunity within the chaos, Lin Yuan immediately ordered Yin Yin to use turbulent flow against that specific head. Without hesitation, Lin Yuan seized the brief moment, commanding Yin Yin to follow up with sonic sting. The raging vortex slammed into the green head, and the sharp sonic blades then sliced off the remaining two heads. The central head collapsed, causing the entire body to disintegrate, while Huang Qinglin fell to his knees in disbelief. As the battle ended, the virtual space faded, and Lin Yuan exhaled, realizing the forced ancient reversion had long been planned but was clearly incomplete. With the opponent gone, Tongming rubbed against Lin Yuan's leg and asked to continue, but seeing Yin Yin exhausted, he decided to stop and let it rest. Noticing the matchmaking interface still waiting, he cancelled it, considering climbing over 20 floors in a day a reasonable limit. Just as he turned to leave, the room's door suddenly swung open. A young man entered and greeted him, asking if he intended to continue after canceling the match. Lin Yuan politely replied that he was done for the day. The young man nodded in understanding. After Lin Yuan left, the youth reported via communicator that below the 80th floor there were no major threats, with the main obstacles being members of the 100 Radiant Suns. On the way back, Lin Yuan contemplated rapidly increasing his strength by focusing on nurturing Hongxi and advancing the spirit-absorbing golden fish to bronze rank, which would also upgrade Mobius. Upon returning, he conveyed this plan to Mobius, who calmly asked if he had truly decided about the spirit-absorbing golden fish. Lin Yuan affirmed without hesitation that he would use dragon beast blood to promote its advancement, which would also upgrade Mobius through spirit locking. Mobius then asked if he intended to make it the store's flagship product, and Lin Yuan sighed, explaining the high demand and faster evolution within the spirit transformation pool. Holding the vial of dragon beast blood, Lin Yuan felt immense pressure upon opening it, acknowledging the act as a significant gamble. He silently prayed for everything to proceed smoothly. Tilting his hand, droplets of dark red blood fell into the tank. The small fish immediately reacted, rushing forward to devour the precious energy. The surging energy triggered rapid transformation as its scales shattered and pressure cracked the glass, while Lin Yuan watched its bloodline awaken. The intense pain was the inevitable price of this transformation. Its body contracted, gradually forming a blazing red cocoon, prompting Lin Yuan to whisper that the moment had come. Without delay, he placed his hand on the cocoon, channeling his remaining spiritual power and encouraging Xiaosu. With a sharp crack, the shell split open, revealing a giant carp-like creature with radiant scales. Lin Yuan was stunned by the transformation, wondering if it might eventually evolve dragon-like traits. As the new spirit creature swam gracefully, the system identified it as the spirit-gathering golden fish, bronze rank 1 normal quality. Observing the dense spiritual aura surrounding it like mist, Lin Yuan marveled at its ability to create an exceptionally rich spiritual environment. He carefully analyzed its ability: spiritual energy boil to accelerate aura release, spiritual energy absorption to enhance cultivation and evolution, and spiritual energy imprint to leave usable marks on the contractor. Resting his chin in thought, he noted that while enhanced absorption aided growth, his attention was particularly drawn to the third ability. The spiritual energy imprint could synergize with Bei Lily in battle to create an extraordinarily powerful healing effect, inspiring Lin Yuan to pioneer a unique combat strategy. After making his decision, Lin Yuan asked, "Xiaowu, how are things on your side?" Mobius responded with surprise, noting how quickly it had reached bronze rank. The bracelet on his wrist glowed as spider-like structures wrapped around it. Mobius data appeared: unknown species, bronze rank 1, space and mystic type, normal quality, with the skill Elysian Pure Land that sustains and heals critically injured spirit creatures within the spirit-locking space. Mobius then sounded wary, saying it needed time to recover after the contract, assuring Lin Yuan that no spiritual materials were required but the duration was uncertain. Immediately after, the internal space expanded significantly, astonishing Lin Yuan as the spirit transformation pool doubled in size, accommodating more spirit creatures. The current scale was now comparable to his store within Starnet. His gaze settled on a special area, the Elysian Pure Land, where Mobius confirmed that any spirit creature with even a faint breath could be preserved. Even those in critical condition could be maintained there, until proper healing conditions were met. Sitting down and grasping some soil, Lin Yuan reflected that dying gold-rank spirit creatures were usually sold as resources, and even top creators might not save them. Feeling the abundant vitality, he realized the spiritual energy density had far surpassed previous levels. Reading his thoughts, Mobius added that the spiritual energy within the spirit-locking space was now 10 times that of the outside world. Lin Yuan's eyes lit up with such conditions in the Elysian Pure Land. Even creating gold-rank spirit creatures became possible, elevating his store to a whole new level. Mobius yawned again, noting that this capability was directly tied to Lin Yuan's own spiritual energy reserves. If his spiritual energy became sufficiently abundant, the Elysian Pure Land could even be deployed into the real world. This revelation shocked Lin Yuan, realizing that combined with the spiritual energy imprint, he could potentially access powerful healing abilities anytime. Mobius remarked with approval that Lin Yuan had exceeded expectations, making these possibilities entirely feasible. Feeling slightly embarrassed, Lin Yuan scratched his head at the unexpected praise. Mobius jokingly replied that it would refrain from complimenting him next time, prompting Lin Yuan to laugh and protest. Half-jokingly, Lin Yuan added that he might even help Mobius reach silver rank before it awakened again. Mobius left a brief final remark before falling into silence. Lin Yuan looked around at the spirit creatures he had contracted. An invisible pressure weighed on him as the financial burden continued to grow. To advance Mobius to silver rank, he would need to contract another spirit creature and raise all of them simultaneously, a prospect that brought immense resource pressure. The alien insect at home had already consumed significant funds, and his modest savings would not last long, forcing him to accelerate his income. With his goals clear, Lin Yuan turned into a tireless work machine, even circulating spiritual energy to nourish his fish during daily routines. His eyes remained fixed on the trading interface, unwilling to miss any opportunity. The sound of rapid typing echoed as he informed a customer that 5 web-spitting spiders were ready, receiving an almost instant request for quick delivery. As time passed in relentless work, fatigue became evident on his face until Tongming brought new information, confirming that Hong Si required high-level spirit beast flesh. Lin Yuan nodded, explaining that ordinary nutrition was no longer sufficient for further advancement, while Tongming worried about his sleepless nights. He waved off the concern and headed to the bathroom, splashing cold water on his face. The chilling sensation restored his alertness, and he smiled lightly, remarking that a little sleep deprivation was nothing for the young. Moreover, his continuous practice had refined his control over spiritual energy, and returning to his desk, he pondered seeking Sister Han for a supply of high-level flesh and blood. Lin Yuan quickly drafted a message, but before finishing, he received a reply saying the supply was available, though the store would only redirect him to another channel. After reading it, he paused in surprise, realizing the conditions were better than expected. Without hesitation, he put on his coat to head out. When Tongming curiously asked, he simply replied, "Going to pick up the goods." The cat immediately climbed onto his shoulder, excitedly showing off its newly polished look, but Lin Yuan laughed and set it down, reminding it of unfinished duties. However, Tongming shook its head, indicating it was free since Yin Yin could now act independently, so Lin Yuan eventually allowed it to tag along. Upon arriving at the meeting point, both instantly sensed that something was off. The harbor was eerily quiet, with only a few scattered figures. A tall, burly young man approached with an unreadable smile, offering to guide Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan swallowed nervously, cold sweat forming as he realized the supply source was far from simple, the chilly sea breeze adding to the tension. Facing the unfamiliar group, he quickly explained that he was there to purchase high-level spirit beast flesh and blood. The group briefly froze before becoming wary, with surrounding individuals interjecting denials and probing questions while mentioning prices that heightened the tension. Someone in the corner suddenly realized the slip and hurriedly tried to stop the conversation. Immediately, the group began blaming one another, creating a chaotic mix of suspicion and embarrassment. Sensing the situation drifting, Lin Yuan maintained his composure and awkwardly clarified that he had been introduced by Sister Han, while Tongming whispered skeptically about their sanity. As the murmuring ceased, the 3 men dropped their joking demeanor and returned to arrogant postures, with the leader challenging Lin Yuan to prove his claim. They insisted he must first pass their test before any deal could proceed. With a mutual signal, they summoned ferocious canine spirit beasts, and the fattest one ordered his imperial hound to attack. Lin Yuan remained calm, casually asking Tongming to go easy since none of the opponents had even reached elite rank 2, and the lazy cat agreed with a yawn. In the next instant, Tongming's figure darted forward, leaving behind blurs too fast to track. Within moments, the savage hounds were flattened on the ground, utterly subdued by a single cat. Witnessing this, the 3 men wailed loudly yet still clung stubbornly to Lin Yuan's trouser leg, insisting they would not admit defeat and that he still could not make a purchase. Lin Yuan rubbed his forehead, feeling only exasperation at their unreasonable obstinacy. Just then, heavy footsteps approached from afar, accompanied by a commanding voice scolding them for causing unnecessary attention instead of guarding the entrance. A burly man pushed through the crowd and, after confirming Lin Yuan's identity with Sister Han, apologized and explained that the monthly batch of high-level spirit beast resources had already been sold out. Hearing this, Lin Yuan quietly deduced that many high-level professionals relied on such resources to nurture their spirit creatures. The man then angrily rebuked his subordinates for mistakenly importing high-level flesh from dimensional aberrations instead of proper spirit beasts. One subordinate scratched his head in defense, claiming they seemed similar, while another innocently suggested that since it was not for human consumption, they could simply deny responsibility after selling it. Hearing this, the man's anger exploded, scolding them for trying to sell toxic dimensional flesh that even their imperial hounds wouldn't eat, and that could pollute the environment. Grasping the key point, Lin Yuan's eyes lit up as he asked if he could purchase the flesh and blood of the dimensional creatures. The man narrowed his eyes, warning that if Lin Yuan insisted on buying, there would be no after-sales responsibility, urging him to reconsider. Lin Yuan immediately agreed, and with a smirk, the man gestured for him to proceed with the purchase. The three subordinates instantly changed their attitude, warmly inviting the big boss to return, often with promotional offers. On the way back, Tongming questioned the decision, but Lin Yuan confidently explained that since Hongxi originated from dimensional rifts, the difference should be negligible. When the spirit-locking space opened to reveal the massive 500 kilograms of dimensional creature flesh, Tongming shuddered, while Lin Yuan insisted it was carefully prepared rather than a deception. Despite his confidence, Lin Yuan felt uneasy as he brought the grayish meat closer, worrying whether Hongxi could withstand its corrosive properties. Contrary to his caution, Hongxi lunged forward uncontrollably, extending its vines to seize and devour the foul-smelling mass. As destructive corrosive fluid began seeping from the vines, Lin Yuan panicked and shouted in alarm. Realizing that Hongxi initially struggled to resist the corrosive trait, he worried that his hasty decision might be flawed, and wondered if Bai Lily's healing could affect a dimensional creature. Just as he was about to summon Bai Lily, the scene suddenly changed, leaving him stunned. Signs of recovery and renewed growth appeared, suggesting Hongxi was self-adjusting to adapt, with the restructuring vines serving as evidence. Through their contract, Tongming conveyed that Hongxi was seeking a new evolutionary path, prompting Lin Yuan to order enhanced offensive power and additional vines. Hongxi obediently followed the command. The spikes on its body transformed, giving rise to numerous sharp new branches as Lin Yuan watched the evolution with bated breath. However, the state did not last long. Its massive body suddenly shrank and collapsed, causing Lin Yuan to exclaim in surprise. Seeing it fall completely silent, he realized it had entered another deep slumber, as such evolutionary adjustments consumed immense stamina. Nevertheless, he noted that relying solely on tougher vines would still make it difficult to penetrate the defenses of tank-type spirit creatures. While pondering, a bird suddenly dropped a sheet of paper onto the table, proudly displaying the words Jian Luo as its signature, prompting Lin Yuan's amused acknowledgement. The bird flapped excitedly about its upcoming debut, while Tongming sarcastically questioned who would want such a signature. The bird immediately puffed up, insisting that its top fans certainly would. Recalling the fans' generosity during live streams, Lin Yuan clicked his tongue in admiration at their loyalty and the surprising success of Yin Yin's broadcast. The bird confidently asked Lin Yuan to deliver the 2 signed sheets in Zing City, believing they would become valuable collectibles, and he agreed with a smile as Tongming then inquired if he was preparing to travel again. Lin Yuan nodded with determination, stating they had prepared for this moment for a long time, leaving Tongming puzzled. Turning the computer screen, he pointed to the founder exam registration notice, causing Tongming to leap with excitement at the long-awaited event. After packing up, Lin Yuan decisively announced their departure toward the founder examination. The scene shifted to the bustling founder guild of Zing City. The atmosphere was crowded and tense with examinees. Long lines stretched endlessly as receptionists stamped documents and wished candidates success, who politely thanked them. In a hallway corner, a beautiful young woman sighed, wondering why her grandfather had not personally appeared to encourage Zing City's candidates. Inside a quiet room, Ning Lao, the 4-star vice president of the Zing Founder Guild, calmly served tea to his guests. Sitting opposite was Meng Lao, dean of the Royal Advanced Spirit Q University's Founder Academy, who directly requested an increase in this year's exam difficulty. Ning Lao sipped his tea and calmly asked for the reason. Beside Meng Lao, Du Lao, vice president of the Royal Founder Guild, explained that Wang Yi had proposed reforms after returning from Feiyu Mountain, and they preferred postponing implementation until next year. Ning Lao set down his cup, asserting his authority and revealing that the decision aligned with the intentions of Yu Hao, who sought to take a disciple. Meng Lao's expression shifted as he dismissed the connection, arguing that the competition was merely to select outstanding young talent. He added that Yu Hao would carefully choose a disciple regardless, and Du Lao supported this view, noting that both noble families and academies already possessed abundant talent. Ning Lao laughed heartily while inwardly acknowledging the cunning of the 2 elders and considering yielding to their wishes. Meanwhile, above Zing City, a gigantic creature soared through the sky. Tongming excitedly celebrated the flight while Lin Yuan nervously clung on and reminded it to be careful. After landing on the ornate plaza, Tongming asked if they would meet Xiaosu first, but Lin Yuan decided to visit her only after becoming a founder. Puffing out its chest, Tongming confidently declared their success in the upcoming exam, earning Lin Yuan's amused affirmation. Walking through the bustling streets, Tongming marveled at Zing City's impressive infrastructure and abundant food, but Lin Yuan tapped its head, reminding it to stay focused on the founder examination. Suddenly, his gaze landed on a pale, staggering group. Tongming guessed they were heading to the hospital, but he sighed that they were merely stressed candidates for the founder exam with a notoriously low pass rate. Once you fail the exam, you must wait a full year before trying again. Noting their neat attire, he remarked that although participants weren't many, they dressed sharply, prompting a passing guard to warn them not to speak carelessly at the city lord's workplace. Following the signs, everyone formed a long queue stretching about 100 meters toward the examination hall. Sweating at the sight of the massive line, he steadied himself and told Tongming to transform into Ki and prepare properly. Before turning into light, Tongming wondered if others could bring spirit creatures into the exam, and he confirmed it was common practice for assistants. A flash of light produced the knowledge glasses on his nose, and upon entering the grand domed building, he felt the overwhelming authority of the Founder Guild. The busy receptionist directed finished candidates to exit while inwardly marveling at the exam's brutal difficulty, likely due to the uncompromising vice president. Regaining composure, she announced that the next candidates should submit beginner certificates for 3 life-type spiritual professions before collecting their scorecards. Hearing this, Lin Yuan froze in confusion, admitting he didn't possess any beginner certificates. Under the crowd's gaze, he awkwardly explained that he heard the guild could directly test the 3 professions, leaving the girl shocked that someone dared attempt this under the vice president. She clarified that only the 3 toughest knowledge-based fields, Spirit Q Scholar, Spirit Creature Observer, and Spirit Material Analyst, were offered, and Lin Yuan calmly accepted. At a loss for words, she agreed and led him onward, silently praying that choosing these 3 subjects wouldn't end too painfully for him. In another corridor, guests of Ninglao discussed how news from the Sen family had spread, with Lang Xiao showing interest, all due to efforts to shorten the promotion from 1-star to 2-star founder. Du Lao worried that being so direct with Ninglao might be inappropriate, but Menglao chuckled that Ninglao preferred bluntness and had personally eliminated many candidates in last year's exams. Even so, they wondered just how difficult advancing from level 1 to level 2 could be. In truth, Ninglao's strictness stemmed from his deep reverence for the founder's path, making it difficult for anyone to earn his approval. Back with Lin Yuan, the guide anxiously advised him about the guild's harsher exams, but he politely interrupted, resolute as he faced the ornate wooden door, determined to take the test. As he finished speaking, the door burst open and Ninglao emerged angrily, demanding to know who had expelled his candidate when his questions were all within the scope of over 300 books. Startled, the girl addressed him as vice president, only for Ninglao to grumble that she should call him grandpa instead. Ninglao firmly insisted that a granddaughter calling him grandpa was perfectly natural, leaving Lin Yuan silently amused by this not-so-professional display. Ninglao's piercing gaze assessed Lin Yuan's courage to attempt the beginner exam, and Lin Yuan calmly promised to give it his all, making the receptionist nervously sense an impending interrogation. With a slight smirk, Ninglao posed a simple question between the ancient megalodon Ju Qi She and Livaeth and Wailuweja Kang Jingyu, which species was stronger. The granddaughter was startled, realizing this long-debated academic question far exceeded normal exam scope, and considered subtly helping Lin Yuan. She teasingly pointed out that since Ninglao specialized in megalodon research, he should just admit his bias instead of being indirect. Breaking the tense silence, Lin Yuan calmly declared that the question already had an answer: both species were actually weak. Ninglao raised an eyebrow and pressed him for an explanation, his voice carrying heavy pressure. Lin Yuan explained clearly that both species were weak because they had been eliminated by evolution and no longer existed. Even if modern sharks or whales showed ancestral mutations, they were no longer the same species as their predecessors. He added that forcibly reverting a spirit creature to its ancestral state would also be problematic. The granddaughter secretly observed Ninglao's rare silence, astonished that he remained calm despite hearing Megalodon called weak. Deeply engrossed, Ninglao urged Lin Yuan to elaborate further, revealing his typically strict scrutiny in this field. Unfazed by the pressure, Lin Yuan reasoned that as apex predators of the Third Oceanic Era, their dominance actually slowed the evolution of other species. Around 65 million years ago, catastrophic events like a meteor impact ushered in the Fourth Oceanic Era, and their failure to adapt led to their extinction, marking them as evolutionarily weak. Applauding decisively, Ninglao praised Lin Yuan's profound perspective and declared that he had passed this stage. Ninglao then decided to personally escort Lin Yuan to the exams for the 3 knowledge-based spiritual professions, while the granddaughter silently gave him an admiring thumbs-up. As Ninglao personally guided him, onlookers whispered that Lin Yuan must be a prestigious descendant or a specially nurtured talent, while Ninglao reminded him to maintain calmness in academic pursuits. Ninglao then coldly dispersed the gawking crowd, warning that further loitering would disqualify them. The crowd scattered, and Lin Yuan felt a touch of helplessness at being swept up in the urgency. At the examination desk, a thick stack of test papers was placed before him. Once the timer began, he focused intensely, his pen moving nonstop as the knowledge glasses and Tongming's assistants unleashed a near-endless flow of insights, though the exam's extreme difficulty still weighed heavily on him. While Lin Yuan focused on the exam, Ninglao leisurely sipped tea, noting his rapid writing and steady composure, deeming him a promising talent likely to finish in 2 hours. Surprisingly, after just 1 hour, Lin Yuan set down his pen and announced that he had completed the test. Filled with anticipation, he cautiously asked Ninglao if he was now eligible to participate in the founder examination, confident in Tongming's knowledge support. As Ninglao reviewed the nearly flawless answers, his astonishment grew before he sternly declared that Lin Yuan could not proceed with the next exam today. The unexpected statement struck Lin Yuan with confusion. Worried he had failed, Lin Yuan asked again, but Ninglao waved it off with a wry smile, assuring him that was not the case. Ninglao explained that Lin Yuan's exceptional performance had broken the scoring records for the 3 life-type spiritual professions, requiring official reporting and postponing the founder exam to the next day. Relieved, Lin Yuan finally understood that he had successfully passed. Still eager, he proposed completing the one-star founder exam within 2 hours, but Ning Lao, surprised, refused and advised him to progress step by step. Rejected Lin Yuan could only smile wryly, realizing his original plan was no longer feasible. Tongming, in the form of glasses, then telepathically suggested that they visit Xiaozi during the next 2 days. At that moment, Ning Lao mysteriously the ed taking Lin Yuan to see something interesting since he could not take the exam today. Soon, Ning Lao led him to a heavily secured area and confirmed access by swiping his card. Hesitant, Lin Yuan asked if visiting would cause issues, but Ning Lao confidently replied that as the vice president of the Zing City Founder Guild, currently without a president, he had full authority. Passing through a narrow corridor, the space suddenly opened to reveal a vast artificial lake. Standing by the shore, Lin Yuan felt immense pressure from the circulating water alone. With hands behind his back, Ning Lao announced that he would broaden the young man's horizons. As his spiritual power erupted and compressed the air, Lin Yuan was astonished to realize that Ning Lao was not only a founder but also a true king-class expert. The force surged into the lake's depths, causing violent waves as a colossal creature slowly emerged from the vortex. Its massive silhouette blocked the light, leaving Lin Yuan nearly unable to stand. Overwhelmed, he stammered as cold sweat spread across his body. Satisfied, Ning Lao introduced the creature as his carefully nurtured Quan Chi Jin Yesha, asking Lin Yuan for his opinion. Gazing at its dense, razor-sharp teeth, Lin Yuan swallowed hard, feeling that any creature could be crushed instantly. Even Tongming trembled telepathically, expressing fear and wishing to return home to find an An. However, when the information panel appeared, Lin Yuan's fear quickly transformed into profound shock. Level 10 Platinum rank, legendary quality. Smiling, Ning Lao asked why he had not yet advanced the creature to the diamond rank. Taking a deep breath, Lin Yuan steadied himself and began his explanation. He concluded that Ning Lao intended to guide its mutation toward the Megalodon Juqisha lineage upon its diamond advancement. Ning Lao's eyes lit up with satisfaction, and he asked Lin Yuan to fetch an item from the nearby workbench. Lin Yuan promptly complied and moved toward the indicated location. Upon opening the metal box, he froze at the sight of glass tubes filled with dark red liquid dragon beast blood. Lin Yuan froze, calculating that the platinum-grade dragon beast blood before him far surpassed his previous gold level purchases, with each tube holding at least 200 precious drops. Holding the box with trembling hands, he wondered if Ning Lao intended to reward him with some of this priceless treasure. The mere thought felt almost unbelievable to him. However, before his fantasy could linger, Ning Lao decisively took all the glass tubes of the valuable liquid. To Lin Yuan's shock, Ning Lao poured everything directly into the lake, then casually teased him for trembling over such a simple task. Lin Yuan stood stunned, realizing that each drop was worth thousands of radiance coins, totaling over 2 million, now reduced to mere food for the lake's spirit beasts. Ning Lao helplessly explained that feeding them dragon beast blood was necessary since historical records showed Megalodon Juqisha once preyed on dragon beasts, leaving Lin Yuan silently admiring his obsession. After finishing, Ning Lao turned serious, reminding him that although founders seemed capable of anything, all evolution must follow immutable natural laws. Concluding briefly, Ning Lao told him to return the next morning, and Lin Yuan respectfully thanked the vice president. Upon leaving the restricted area, the granddaughter hurried over with curiosity, but Ning Lao vaguely replied that the results would be known tomorrow and asked her to send a letter to City Lord Lang Zhao and check on 2 guests. Watching Lin Yuan depart, Ning Lao pondered that it would be a pity if such a promising talent lacked opportunity. Whether Lin Yuan could truly shine tomorrow ultimately depended on himself. After exiting the guild, Lin Yuan let Tongming revert to its cat form, and as they discussed visiting Xiaozi or the Starnet, his phone suddenly rang. Answering cheerfully, he was startled when Xiaozi's weak and pained voice asked him to come to her school after being injured during a combat class. His expression changed instantly as worry surged within him. Without hesitation, he rushed off while reassuring her over the phone that he would arrive immediately. Along the way, he was puzzled since the school's defenses should prevent direct harm to students, leaving him wondering what had truly happened. At the infirmary entrance, Chuzi greeted him with a reassuring smile, waving gently despite her condition. He hurried over, gripping her shoulders and anxiously asking about her injury, while Tongming chimed in that she should recover with plenty of braised pork. Chuzi rolled up her sleeve to reveal a tiny scratch on her arm as the source of concern. She explained that while training with her T-34 Iron Rhino Tainyu, a flying rock fragment had caused the injury. Lin Yuan stared in silence before incredulously asking if such a minor wound warranted the urgent call, with Tongming joking that it might have vanished if they had arrived later. At that moment, a man approached with laughter, teasing that such an injury was merely bad luck for someone with a defensive counterattack style. Prompting Lin Yuan's wary curiosity about his identity, Chu Zi introduced him as the observer who had helped summon the infirmary teacher. The man smiled casually, his calculating gaze revealing hidden intentions, as he had come to Zing City seeking someone, but now wished to meet the individual who had nurtured the Iron Rhino to assess their true strength. A chilling sensation crept up Lin Yuan's spine, making him wary as he wondered if gifting that rhino to the young master had inadvertently exposed his own abilities. The man pressed for details about the Iron Rhino's training time, and Lin Yuan casually fabricated a figure of 7 to 8 months. In truth, he lied smoothly, knowing the actual nurturing process had taken only a few hours. Hearing this, the man's momentum deflated instantly, muttering in frustration that he might have already lost. He lamented that he would have needed 2 years, puzzled by the vast discrepancy. The scene shifted to the Grand City Lord's mansion, where a subordinate respectfully presented a letter from Ning Lao to Ling Xiao. The The subordinate reported that Meng Lao and Du Lao had departed, noting they had been recalled by the academy's dean and wished to keep their journey discreet. Ling Xiao nodded and decisively ordered that defenses at all dimensional rifts be doubled and all reserve personnel assembled within 2 months. Du Lao then inquired whether the upcoming 100 Radiance Seeds selection should prioritize candidates from Zijing Academy. Rubbing her temples, Ling Xiao revealed that among 20 seeds only 5 were certain, while 34 others still awaited evaluation. Du Lao expressed surprise, and Ling Xiao's interest was piqued by Chusi and her spirit beast, the sacrificial ox she knew, capable of absorbing pain. Tapping the desk, she decisively instructed Du Lao to closely monitor the 10th grade girl and add her directly to the seed list if qualified. Du Lao hesitated, suggesting further observation since the girl was only in the 10th grade. Ling Xiao stood by the window overlooking the city, stressing that time was short, as Zijing City ranked high economically but had produced only 300 radiant selections, with development stagnating in recent years. Du Lao bowed in understanding, reflecting on how the increasingly decisive city lord had also grown more anxious. He mused that circumstances might have differed had the once promising candidate not unexpectedly withdrawn from the 100 Radiants 2 years earlier. Back at the academy, the mysterious man chatted with Lin Yuan, revealing that his first purpose in coming was to find someone. Lin Yuan curiously asked if the person was a teacher at the school. The man nostalgically replied that it was an old friend he believed to be hiding there, possibly as a teacher. Chusi sensed something amiss, but the man dismissed her concerns with a casual wave. His gaze then turned distant as he mentioned another person he wished to find. Lin Yuan asked if this was also an old friend. The man clarified that it was not, but rather his dream singer, a dazzling flower of the era. Scratching his head, Lin Wen noted that some students live-streamed at the school and asked for the singer's name. Placing a hand over his chest, the man passionately revealed the name Si Yin Luo, but Chusi firmly stated that such a person was not at their school. Unlike his sister's calmness, Lin Wan grew visibly tense, worrying about how to explain if the man discovered that the singer was actually a bird. Failing to find results, the man bid them farewell with a hint of regret, saying they would meet again if fate allowed. Lin Yuan returned the farewell, echoing the sentiment. As he departed, the man privately concluded that Lin Yuan was extraordinary and potentially a future founder, making Long Tao's attempt to become the Moon Empress disciple far from easy. After walking some distance, he reported via phone that no trace had been found in Zijing City, and that healing the lingering emotional ailment would require time. Once he was gone, Chusi teased her brother about finding her a sister-in-law, prompting Lin Yuan's embarrassed deflection as he presented a gift and autograph from Yin Yin while concealing its true origin. Chusi carefully tucked the autograph into her pocket and curiously asked if Lin Yuan had come to Zijing City for supplies, given how quickly he appeared after her call. Lin Yuan laughed and tapped her forehead, reminding her that he had come to take the founder assessment. Chusi widened her eyes in surprise at how soon he was attempting the exam. Confidently affirming his preparation, Lin Yuan invited her to dinner, and she realized she had nearly forgotten about eating. While dining, Lin Yuan served her food and asked about her studies, the performance of the Iron Rhino, and her plans for the next spirit creature. Mentioning Shi Nu, Chusi grew annoyed, complaining that her classmates had nicknamed her Da Shi Nu, which she found excessive. Lin Yuan outwardly sympathized with her, while secretly feeling relieved that the nickname was milder than he had imagined. After leaving the restaurant, Chusi stretched happily, noting that she previously only enjoyed fish head soup during the new year. Lin Yuan gently reassured her that their improved financial situation meant she could spend freely without excessive frugality. He explained that enhancing the rhino's defense and destructive power required metal supplementation, and promised additional funds along with a silver-grade Qing Lo plant, astonishing Chusi I. When a transfer notification appeared, Chusi stammered at the large sum, wondering if their family had become wealthy. Lin Yuan winked playfully, telling her to think of it that way. Responding to his earlier question about her next spirit creature, Chusi mentioned a place she wished to visit. Lin Yuan pointed toward the most prominent building in the district, suggesting they check it out that week. Chusi was astonished to realize it was the most prestigious auction house in Zijing City. She confessed her long-held desire to enter, previously deterred by the high prices but now finally confident enough to do so. Lin Yuan agreed, noting that the Zhengwu Pavilion might hold a suitable second spirit creature for her. As the golden doors opened to reveal dazzling treasures, Lin Yuan remarked that passing the founder assessment would grant access to all floors, though they could currently only explore the first. Chusi suddenly stopped before a display case, excitedly pointing out a small white fox. After checking the information, Lin Yuan explained it was a Shuangwei Shudiao, an ice-type offensive spirit creature that was rare but unsuitable for her, though she still found it irresistibly cute. From Lin Yuan's shoulder, Tongming telepathically joked that with one more tail than it, he was clearly the cuter one. Tugging at his arm, Chusi asked coquettishly about the creature's price. Lin Yuan read the electronic tag and stated that it cost 100 Radiance coins. Hearing the price, Chusi's expression fell as she lamented that she and the creature belonged to different worlds. Seeing her reaction, Lin Yuan jokingly pretended to wipe away tears, apologizing for realizing too late as an older brother. His attention then subtly shifted to a masked man nearby. Lin Yuan speculated whether the cocoons on display belonged to the Lanshan Dai. He reasoned that with further evolution, they might become the Languangnu Shen Dai, one of the 10 most beautiful spirit creatures and an exceptionally rare treasure. Tongming, now in Glass's form, clarified telepathically that they were merely wings of the Lanshan Dai, and that evolving into the Languangnu Shen Deer required many additional steps. Lin Yuan responded confidently that with his help there was nothing to worry about, revealing that his true interest lay not in gifting them to Chu Si, but in the silent scale powder of the Lan Qian Dai. This was a rare mystical ability capable of sealing a spirit creature's skill usage when affected. Tongming nodded in understanding. However, it remained puzzled since this butterfly species was nearly extinct after the spiritual energy resurgence, making the presence of 4 cocoons extremely unlikely. At that moment, several elegantly dressed women approached and mockingly criticized the masked seller's shabby appearance. Lin Yuan frowned in discomfort, thinking it absurd that appearance should matter for selling goods in the first floor of Zhongwu Pavilion. The masked man spoke in a hoarse voice, silencing the commotion by offering the butterfly cocoons for 120 radiance coins to any genuine buyer. Lin Yuan clenched his teeth in regret, believing someone else had already secured a bargain, as this price was a steal for Lan Qian Dai. Considering its true value, the price was indeed low, but selling them as cocoons was like a blind box, meaning the seller himself might not know their exact contents. The woman continued her sarcasm, questioning the worth of the cocoons and suggesting they should cost far less unless they contained bronze-grade spirit creatures. She further accused the masked man of being a fraud, claiming such cocoons could only be found on ancient trees deep in forests, and attempted to summon security. Noticing her brother's subtle change in expression, Chu Si quietly asked if something was wrong. To avoid worrying her, Lin Yuan suddenly declared from afar that he would purchase all 4 cocoons, causing an immediate stir. The woman mocked him for ignoring her warning, but Lin Yuan calmly replied that anything displayed in Zhenwu Pavilion must have passed authentication and could not be counterfeit. He then turned to the seller, sincerely expressing his intent to complete the transaction. Unexpectedly, the masked man remained silent. He soon packed up his belongings and left, leaving Lin Yuan momentarily stunned. The surrounding crowd began gossiping, assuming the seller fled because the goods were indeed fake. Before fully departing, the masked man told Lin Yuan that if he truly wished to buy, he should return at the same time the next day, when proof would be provided that the cocoons came from the infinite forest. Watching him leave, Chu Si curiously inquired, but Lin Yuan simply reassured her and suggested they depart. Chu Si encouraged him to perform well in the next day's founder exam, and Lin Yuan confidently promised success. As the siblings left, the mother and daughter expressed frustration, lamenting the lost chance to pressure the seller into lowering the price, though the daughter remained indifferent. The next morning arrived outside the founder guild. The atmosphere was tense as Tongming, now in glasses form, asked if Lin Yuan had slept well. He replied that he was still thinking about the butterfly cocoons. Among the crowd, the woman from the previous day noticed him and sneered, believing that only candidates with strong family backgrounds could handle the difficult exam. Elsewhere, her daughter confidently prepared at her workstation surrounded by rare spiritual materials. She eagerly anticipated which spirit creature she would help evolve during the test. From the platform, Ning Lao announced that each candidate would be assigned a private training room to perform without disturbance. As his gaze swept across the candidates, it paused briefly on Lin Yuan, subtly reminding him to avoid revealing too much. Inviting the candidates to enter, Ning Lao smiled faintly, confident that Lin Yuan would demonstrate his true capabilities and justify the recommendation letter. At that moment, City Lord Ling Xiao arrived and asked if she was late. Ning Lao replied that although all candidates had entered, her absence spared them additional pressure. Ling Xiao frowned, saying scaring them was pointless, while Ning Lao chuckled that he would set an outrageous exam. The test simply required choosing the least liked aloof and hard-to-control spirit beast for the candidates. He looked pleased, asking smugly if his preparations were meticulous enough. Inside the exam room, candidates struggled with stubborn spirit beasts. One girl panicked as her creature refused to approach or eat. Another male candidate impatiently forced his beast's mouth open, barking for it to eat. Some were overjoyed, laughing that their all-night study of spirit beasts had paid off with this supposedly difficult topic. In contrast, Lin Yuan calmly activated a skill to soothe his spirit beast, soon realizing it was far easier to approach than records suggested. Outside, the granddaughter anxiously asked if helping the iron-headed do evolve was truly that difficult. Ling Xiao warned that without grasping the key dietary differences between herds using the correct bait, evolution with spiritual resources would be impossible, making this the toughest exam yet. The granddaughter hesitated, wondering if those who thought they had the advantage would soon hit a dead end. Indeed, frustrated complaints soon echoed from an exam room as textbook methods proved useless. Meanwhile, Lin Yuan smiled gently and praised his spirit beast, Tongming, for a job well done. Watching it obediently eat the fruit, he confirmed it was the key resource and that proper materials would complete the evolution. After half an hour, Ling Xiao grew impatient, but Ning Lao reassured her, believing the process couldn't end so quickly given the city's many affairs. At that moment, an exam room door suddenly opened. Ling Xiao immediately turned to look. Lin Yuan emerged calmly, and Ning Lao approached in surprise, asking if he had failed by finishing in under an hour. Lin Yuan smiled serenely, stating that he had already completed the task. He then declared his intention to immediately take the 2-star founder assessment, stunning both Ning Lao and Ling Xiao. After inspecting the room, Ling Xiao was astonished by the swift evolution, while Ning Lao stroked his beard with proud satisfaction. The granddaughter silently noted that after his excellent scores in daily subjects, his abilities here were equally impressive. Ling Xiao looked directly at Lin Yuan and formally acknowledged that his performance qualified him as a founder. She then reconfirmed whether he was certain about immediately attempting the 2-star assessment. Lin Yuan paused briefly, sensing the pressure from her yet maintaining his composure. Recalling Ning Lao's earlier introduction, he gazed respectfully at the city lord who once faced great dangers alone. Recognizing her seriousness about the assessment, he knew he could not show hesitation. Standing straight, he firmly assured the city lord that he would immediately participate in the 2-star assessment. Ling Xiao nodded and ordered the preparation of a private training room, signaling others to handle it. The granddaughter quietly asked Ning Lao if the 2-star assessment was truly so difficult. He sternly explained that the first level was merely the beginning, mainly involving spirit beast evolution. He added that some required immense resources to succeed, then reminded her with a glance to call him grandpa. Ling Xiao added that such people usually stall at 1-star, as the 2-star level focuses on a spirit beast quality and origin, which determines its growth limits. Ning Lao explained that within 4 hours, candidates must evolve an elite spirit beast from common to epic quality and heal a severely injured bronze level 1. Hearing this, the granddaughter felt puzzled, thinking the difficulty seemed similar to last year. Ning Lao chuckled, revealing that this time the injury involved damaged origin. Ling Xiao was stunned upon hearing this. She complained sarcastically about making it a resurrection test, while Ning Lao coughed, saying the difficulty had to meet Meng Lao and Du Lao's standards. He added that stricter conditions would increase the chance to impress Lord Yuhao. Since origin damage often makes founders give up and carries high healing risks, Ling Xiao couldn't help but worry. Meanwhile, inside the exam room, Lin Yuan felt relieved, as evolving the Bai Lily was already familiar territory. Kongming reminded him that he still needed to heal the severely injured spirit beast. After analysis, it reported the creature was a bronze-level arrow-clawed crab in poor condition. Lin Yuan hesitated as aside from treating the iron rhino, he had little experience with such cases. When his hand touched the shell, the crab recoiled violently, trembling at even slight contact. Kongming's internal analysis revealed severe internal damage despite only a small external crack requiring urgent treatment. Lin Yuan attempted to channel spiritual power but found the progress far too slow. Continuing this way would take hours, leaving insufficient time to complete the other task. An idea struck him, and he decided to combine the abilities of the dueling goldfish and the bay lily to accelerate recovery. Soon the crack on the shell was nearly sealed. He felt a surge of joy at the immediate effectiveness. However, the situation worsened as the crab suddenly convulsed, foamed, and flipped over. Kongming warned that its life force was rapidly declining, making Lin Yuan tense as failure loomed. A sudden insight flashed through his mind. He immediately used Blissful Pure Land to place the crab in a stabilized environment and buy time. After observing within the supportive space, he gradually identified the cause. The shell's rapid recovery created internal pressure, while the damaged origin couldn't withstand further stress. He decided to treat the internal organs first, though time-consuming. Preserving the spirit beast's life was paramount. Outside, the 1-star exam concluded, and candidates discussed how this year's difficulty made directly attempting 2-star nearly impossible. As time dwindled, Ling Xiao paced anxiously, while Ning Lao teased her about bringing a chair since nearly 4 hours had passed. She admitted her unease, believing that true capability would allow completion within 2 hours. Ning Lao shrugged and asked what if it wasn't completed. Ling Xiao replied firmly that it would indicate insufficient ability, though she felt uneasy since Ning Lao had recommended Lin Yuan for Lord Yuhao's disciple selection. An assistant gently reminded the city lord that 4 hours had passed. Ling Xiao sighed, preparing to leave, and Ning Lao shared the same sentiment. At that moment, Lin Yuan's clear voice came from inside, announcing that he had finished. Ning Lao immediately asked to confirm the timing. Entering the room, Ning Lao was stunned to see the crab's shell transformed. He recognized the clever method of using growth to relieve internal pressure while avoiding hidden damage. After inspecting the nearby plant, he nodded in satisfaction as the bay lily had also reached epic quality. Ling Xiao openly praised the rare feat of completing such a difficult task on time, asking Ning Lao to award the medal, while Lin Yuan humbly credited the Blissful Pure Land for turning the tide. Ning Lao handed him a glowing stone, explaining it was a token of trust from the arrow-clawed crab. Lin Yuan carefully accepted it, vowing to treasure the meaningful gift. Before he could fully process events, the 2-star founder medal was awarded, and Ning Lao patted his shoulder, urging him to use this honor to safeguard the Federation's stability. Ling Xiao approached with a wine glass, slightly tipsy yet dignified, congratulating and highly praising this promising young talent of Zijin. Lin Yuan felt puzzled, glancing at Ning Lao as Ling Xiao casually signaled her assistant to bring more items. She presented a golden identity card, the second ID of a 2-star founder, which Lin Yuan accepted with both hands while already planning its use. Next, she handed over a key to a city-granted property, leaving Lin Yuan astonished until Ning Lao explained it was a standard benefit. Ling Xiao then mistakenly tried to give another card to Ning Lao before realizing her error and stopping. Sensing the situation, Ning Lao signaled for attendants to escort her to rest, and Ling Xiao cooperatively departed. Once the room quieted, Ning Lao solemnly presented another badge, the follower emblem, prompting Lin Yuan to ask for clarification. Ning Lao recounted that the follower system originated from ancient pioneering eras, where leaders recruited aides to share experience and combat strength, eventually forming a formal institution. He gestured to the badges, explaining that the Radiance Federation officially recognized Lin Yuan as having 2 followers. Lin Yuan recalled seeing someone with a similar emblem before, wondering if that expert had also been serving a founder. Leaving the guild with his new status, Lin Yuan received a call from Chen An, warmly encouraging her to focus on the 100 Suns selection before heading to Zhongwu Pavilion. Kongming, transformed into glasses, suggested calling Xiaozi, but Lin Yuan declined, believing her time was precious as a 10th grade participant, despite Kongming's playful complaint. Upon entering Zhongwu Pavilion, a respectful staff member offered guidance, but Lin Yuan politely declined, noticing the elevated service due to his new status. In the first floor exhibition area, he encountered a heated dispute where an arrogant man demanded verification of goods, questioning whether the seller had already signed a contract or accepted a deposit. The man boasted of being a one-star founder buying the butterfly cocoon as a favor, while his companion coquettishly supported his claim. The black-clad seller from yesterday remained calm, stating that the appointment time was still 2 hours away, and if the buyer failed to appear then. Before he could finish, the rival's follower lunged forward, grabbing the seller's collar and threatening him for daring to make them wait 2 hours. Just as the punch was about to land, a hand suddenly intercepted and firmly caught the attacker's wrist midair. Lin Yuan spoke calmly yet authoritatively, warning them not to escalate matters since the seller was waiting for him. The one-star founder prepared to scold the intruder, but upon seeing the 2 shining stars on Lin Yuan's chest, his face turned pale. Murmurs spread about the astonishingly young 2-star founder, leaving Lin Yuan subtly amused by his newfound status. The 1-star founder immediately apologized respectfully for his followers' rudeness, and Lin Yuan waved it off indifferently. The man then hurriedly dragged the stunned woman away, urging her not to linger. He scolded her for failing the exam and abandoning any thought of rewards before hastily leaving. Once calm returned, the black-clad seller stated he would prove the authenticity of the 4 butterfly cocoons, but Lin Yuan smiled, hinting it wasn't necessary. Before Lin Yuan could elaborate, the seller requested a private room on the 3rd floor, and Lin Yuan, sensing his unusual status, agreed to follow. Soon they entered an exquisitely decorated private chamber, whose luxurious details left Lin Yuan quietly impressed. At that moment, the masked man waved his hand, summoning a strangely shaped creature into the room. Lin Yuan frowned in curiosity upon hearing it introduced as a primal origin creature. Kongming analyzed that it functioned like a reproductive core, able to evolve using absorbed species as templates to mass-produce similar offspring, explaining how the man gathered diverse insects. However, closer inspection revealed the creature's condition was critically deteriorating, nearing collapse and beyond recovery by conventional methods. Breaking the heavy silence, the black-clad man invited Lin Yuan to touch the cocoons to witness how he had obtained them from the endless forest. Lin Yuan agreed, and upon touching the cocoon, a surge of foreign mental energy flooded his mind, indicating a psychic-type ability. He saw visions of a perilous dense forest, where the man skillfully navigated among ferocious beasts, highlighting the dangers he had faced. Suddenly, a painful cry echoed in his consciousness as the brood mother wreathed and pleaded for help, prompting Lin Yuan to withdraw his hand in shock. Turning to the masked man, Lin Yuan saw him clutching his head in agony, confirming their shared pain through a deep connection. After regaining composure, Lin Yuan stated that stabilizing the brood mother's condition must come first. Without hesitation, he placed his hand on the creature's shell, channeling pure spiritual energy to envelop its failing body, gradually stabilizing its state and astonishing the masked man as his pain noticeably subsided. A haunting memory resurfaced for Lu Ji. The brood mother's origin was deeply damaged, and only extremely pure spiritual energy without medicinal properties could restore it. Until someone capable of providing such purity appeared, all previous efforts were futile. His clenched fists and hopeful gaze questioned whether Lin Yuan could truly generate this pure energy. Lin Yuan withdrew his hand, wiped his sweat, and calmly stated that the creature was temporarily stabilized. The black-clad man removed his mask, revealing a weary face, and introduced himself as Lu Ji, a 27-year-old former rank combat spiritual professional with a platinum tier, epic-quality brood mother. Lin Yuan's pupils contracted, shaken by the revelation. He recalled Lu Ji as the once-renowned rank 39 of the 100 Suns, famed for commanding insect swarms and single-handedly defending Hanchang City before disappearing 2 years ago. Before Lin Yuan could react, Lu Ji knelt on one knee, hand over his heart, and solemnly began a warrior's oath. Using a will rune, he swore loyalty as a follower to the 2-star founder Lin Yuan, vowing eternal service or the loss of his spiritual power. Seeing the glowing rune appear, Lin Yuan panicked and exclaimed in shock, asking Lu Ji to stop. However, events unfolded too quickly, and the rune shot through the air toward Lin Yuan before he could respond. Lu Ji remained calm, faintly smiling as he declared that the bond had already been formed. Lin Yuan stood stunned, bewildered that Lu Ji had risked his spiritual abilities with such a drastic oath. Lu Ji explained that he needed help restoring the brood mother, but had nothing to offer, so he entrusted his life to Lin Yuan through this pledge. Lin Yuan intended to help regardless, but Lu Ji's resolute gaze revealed immense pride and a belief in equal exchange, stopping his words. Lin Yuan questioned whether it was worth wagering his entire life on someone he barely knew. From Lu Ji's perspective, painful memories resurfaced of seeking help everywhere only to face repeated refusals, despite hoping someone in the vast Federation might succeed where Lord Jujin could not. Each response had been the same: if even Lord Jujin was powerless, others certainly could not help. The concept of purely medicinal-free spiritual energy seemed unrealistic and nearly impossible. Some even advised him to abandon the brood mother, warning of the immense cost and mentioning his recent disappearance from the 100 Suns ranking. Casting aside these dark memories, Lu Ji clasped his hands. He reaffirmed his oath, declaring himself the young master's sword and shield, leaving Lin Yuan awkwardly scratching his head at the excessive devotion. Outside the VIP room, staff whispered that one man was likely a newly promoted wealthy founder, while the others seemed to have special privileges granted by higher authorities. They speculated he might be a descendant of a fallen noble family reassigned by senior officials. As the gossip continued, the VIP room door opened, and Lu Ji bowed respectfully, inviting, "Young master, please." Lin Yuan stepped out awkwardly, joking that Lu Ji could have simply asked for help without becoming his follower. "Young master, please don't say that," Lu Ji replied respectfully. Lin Yuan requested not to be called young master, but Lu Ji solemnly agreed while still calling him exactly that. Lu Ji stated he couldn't return to Xia district yet and requested the 120 radiance coins for the butterfly cocoons, insisting on clear transactions despite his follower status. Watching Lu Ji leave, Lin Yuan sighed helplessly as Kongming comforted him, suggesting he share the good news with Wenwen. Soon home, Lin Yuan pushed the door open and cheerfully announced their return. Instead of the usual welcome, Wenwen flew around in panic and crashed into him, crying for help. Supporting the trembling little creature, Lin Yuan asked seriously what had happened. Wenwen urgently pointed toward the backyard, shouting that Hongxi was causing trouble, prompting Lin Yuan to rush over. He was stunned to see Hongxi swollen to the size of a giant ancient tree, violently releasing accumulated energy. Lin Yuan muttered in disbelief at the exaggerated spectacle. As he appeared, Hongxi swung a thick vine toward him, causing Kongming to panic and attempt to shield him. Contrary to expectations, the thorny vine gently wrapped around Lin Yuan's waist, lifting and rubbing against him affectionately. Lin Yuan reassured the alarmed Kongming, explaining that Hongxi was merely being clingy. Delighted, Hongxi opened its jagged mouth, and Lin Yuan jokingly remarked that its enthusiasm looked like it might swallow in whole. Wenwen then mentioned that a delivery had arrived earlier, with the courier too frightened to enter, leaving Lin Yuan puzzled as he hadn't ordered anything. Checking outside, he found a large box and learned via phone that it was a congratulatory gift from Jackson containing 3 severely injured spirit creatures. Touching his new bank card, Lin Yuan realized his founder status was linked to his StarNet account and planned to make good use of the new resources. A handwritten note indicated a dying silver-tier swift-horn beast discounted to 100 radiance coins, and Lin Yuan observed its critical condition. Though externally unharmed, its internal organs were severely disordered, leaving only hours to live, so he used blissful pure land to preserve its vitality. After handling the first case, he asked Wenwen to open the remaining 2 boxes. Wenwen quickly complied but was bewildered, mistaking the contents for charred coal. Reading the note, Lin Yuan laughed, learning it was a heavily damaged platinum spiritual plant discounted to 300 radiance coins, while Kongming and Wenwen curiously examined the blackened mass. Feeling a faint life fluctuation within the charred wood, Lin Yuan realized it resembled a cinnamon tree and was far from ordinary. "Let me check," he said. Scanning with his wrist device revealed it as the Jusha Dangi, a level 4 platinum wood-type spirit with perfect quality and powerful supportive abilities like mental clarity, detoxification, healing, and curse resistance. After reading the data, Lin Yuan's eyes lit up with excitement, recognizing it as an auspicious treasure with exceptional abilities to counter toxins and dark curses. Kongming pulled a note from the 3rd box, and Lin Yuan read that contained an unidentified gold-tier spirit fluctuation, treated as a bonus gift, sparking his curiosity. As the lid opened, a pure radiant light burst forth, forcing Lin Yuan to squint and nearly drop the box. The scan revealed it as Jugayulu, an Aspasinaceae plant, platinum level 8010 wood type, with perfect quality. The description identified it as a rare spiritual resource that enhances mental power and was already nearing full maturity. Meanwhile, at a Treasure's Pavilion branch, an employee asked Zhou Jiaxin if the newly confirmed 2-star founder would accept their inventory, to which she slyly replied that the items were intentionally reserved. Just then, her phone rang and her eyes lit up as she realized Lin Yuan had arrived. She warmly welcomed him with premium spirit-nourishing tea and asked whether he had received her gift. Lin Yuan replied directly that he had received it and was very satisfied. He then suggested getting straight to the point without unnecessary pleasantries. Zhou Jiaxin admitted she wished to source rare spirit creatures from him for her store. Lin Yuan smirked, having already anticipated her intention. He calmly agreed, leaving Zhou Jiaxin momentarily stunned by the ease of his consent. Sipping tea, he proposed supplying about 200 little dueling goldfish monthly, with fewer bronzetier chingluo, ensuring mutual benefit. Zhou Jiaxin eagerly accepted, offering retail price plus 3% and expressing gratitude, as this partnership could elevate her store toward 4-star status. Lin Yuan added that next month he could also provide 20 elite-level Wufu Lanshou and 20 silver-tier Qingluo, already planning his next steps. Hearing this, Zhou Jiaxin was nearly overwhelmed, trembling at the prospect of obtaining 20 of each. She steadied herself, convinced that Lin Yuan must be backed by a founder of at least 3 stars, if not higher. 3 days later, within the spirit-locking space, Lin Yuan tirelessly cultivated spiritual stones, hoping to maintain sufficient energy while awaiting Mobius awakening. He then checked on the recovering swift-horn beast, whose condition had significantly improved and was ready for further treatment. Channeling warm energy into the creature, Lin Yuan employed an inside-out healing method to strengthen its foundation. The most crucial moment soon arrived. A soft sound accompanied a surge of azure light as the creature shed its old form, evolving into Fengsu Jinhun, a Capricorn-type spirit, platinum level 110, Wen-type, with elite quality and wind-based offensive skills. Its abilities included Wind Shield for protection, Sword Tempest to summon a destructive cyclone, and the innate trait Swift Wind, enhancing the speed and potency of wind skills. Reviewing the results, Lin Yuan felt deeply satisfied, amazed by this accelerated evolutionary path that transformed it into a formidable air attack specialist. With a single leap to gold rank, his spirit beast now boosts his journey as a professional, a stark contrast to his powerless past. He pats the beast's sturdy horn, praising its hard work and granting it a well-earned vacation. Turning to the nearby box, he smiles as the Jade Dew Cinnamon Sprout emerges, confident that full recovery is only a matter of time. Thinking this over, he lets out a long, relieved sigh. The image of Liao Ji pops into his mind, leaving him helplessly amused by the man's suffocatingly strict nature. Acting as a subordinate, Liao Ji, dressed like a top-tier butler, meticulously grooms Wen Wen while counting to 100 before declaring today's session complete. Upon seeing Lin Yuan, Liao Ji bows deeply and formally asks about his cultivation, prompting an awkward confirmation. Lin Yuan feels the atmosphere has become overly serious, affecting even the surrounding spirit creatures. He glances aside and mutters that some members seem a bit less obedient than expected. Adjusting his glasses, Liao Ji professionally suggests expanding the shop's scale, but Lin Yuan hurriedly declines, assuring him he will still heal the brood mother. Liao Ji maintains his stern demeanor, insisting that it is simply his principle. Realizing he cannot change Liao Ji's mind, Lin Yuan agrees to examine the brood mother's condition. Observing the creature, Lin Yuan empathetically notes that missing the rankings for 2 years because of it must have been difficult for Liao Ji. From Liao Ji's reaction, Lin Yuan immediately understands the answer. Since he remains unwilling to accept defeat, Lin Yuan encourages him to return to the rankings in the future. Lin Yuan places his hand on the brood mother, gently channeling soothing spiritual energy. After a while, he concludes that its origin has been reignited and promises full recovery within 2 to 3 months. Hearing this, Liao Ji's eyes light up as he bows deeply, his voice choked with gratitude. Lin Yuan cuts him off modestly and asks about Wangdu, revealing his consideration of expanding there. He affirms that Wangdu is the true center of the Radiance Federation, offering far greater resources and opportunities than Zing City. He pauses briefly, carefully weighing his thoughts. Lin Yuan decides to transfer the Zijing shop from the founder's competition and purchase one in Wangdu, asking Liao Ji to scout it, which he readily accepts. Liao Ji salutes firmly and departs for Wangdu, while Lin Yuan smiles and sees him off. Afterward, Wen lands on Lin Yuan's head and asks if they are truly leaving, to which he gently agrees for the sake of broader horizons. Just then, his phone rings with an unfamiliar number, making him wonder if it is a new order. Upon answering, Lin Yuan becomes serious as Ling Xiao informs him that someone will pick him up within hours, hinting that the upcoming trip is far from ordinary. Elsewhere, Ling Xiao ends the call with a sly smile, surprised that Yuho responded so swiftly and even requested a personal meeting. Given the gravity of accepting a disciple, her decision to personally assess Lin Yuan makes perfect sense. When asked if someone else should escort Lin Yuan, Ling Xiao firmly decides to handle it herself, as she initiated the competition reforms in Zijing. Thus, she will personally escort Lin Yuan to Feiyu Mountain to complete the final step. Meanwhile, at the Founders Guild in Wangdu, a grand ceremony unfolds as Elder Du formally announces the title for the most outstanding young talent. A lavishly dressed young man basks in applause, confidently believing the title secures his chances of becoming Yu Hao's disciple. On stage, Elder Du quietly inquires about news from Feiyu Mountain, clearly having waited with anticipation. His companion reassures him that with the official title, rejection from the other side is highly unlikely. Hearing this, Elder Du feels somewhat relieved, though his expectation remains evident. Back at Lin Yuan's home, chaos erupts as Kong Ming and Wen cling to him, insisting on joining the trip. The duo pleads in unison, promising good behavior with eyes full of hopeful determination. Lin Yuan sighs and ultimately relents, realizing leaving them behind might cause even more trouble. He then places both into Mobius Spirit Lock space, where Wen marvels at the vast interior. Kong Ming explores energetically before complaining that the place lacks anything suitable for a cat to climb. Lin Yuan gives a meaningful glance as a reminder before leaving, telling them to get along with the other inhabitants. Kong Ming circles the enormous brood mother and its newly formed cocoon, exclaiming in awe at its immense size. It curiously asks whether the cocoon is about to hatch and if it will become a Zen butterfly. Lin Yuan nods calmly, explaining that while it will hatch soon, the powdered dust butterfly suits Xiaosu better than the blue shallow butterfly. With a calculating expression, he adds that once the powdered dust butterfly advances to bronze and evolves into a diamond butterfly, Xiaozu's defense will become nearly impenetrable. Lin Yuan strokes his chin with satisfaction, joking that Xiaozu's nickname may upgrade from Iron Ox to the even sturdier Iron Barrel, just as his phone rings again. Still processing earlier news, Lin Yuan hears a steady voice introducing himself as Ling Wu, Ling Xiao's attendant, waiting at the Shang County governor's residence. Slightly surprised, Lin Yuan wonders why a city lord's attendant addresses him so respectfully as my lord. A growing sense of gravity sets in as he glances at Kong Ming fussing over its messy fur, reminding it to maintain its image. Moments later, the imposing Shang County governor's residence appears, with a grand reception of neatly lined officials far exceeding his expectations. A sturdy bald young man steps forward, summoning a gigantic eagle and urging immediate departure without delay. Lin Yuan hesitates, glancing at the cowering governor and asking whether his permission is required. The governor frantically declines the honorific, while Ling Wu interrupts, stressing that time is urgent and other matters can wait. Clicking his tongue, Lin Yuan follows Ling Wu, inwardly puzzled that he seems to have surpassed the governor's rank. He swiftly mounts the massive spirit bird as Ling Wu commands him to hold tight. With a powerful flap, the eagle soars skyward, carrying them straight toward the magnificent Wangdu, the Radiance Federation's most prosperous capital. Meanwhile, in a secluded spiritual garden in Wangdu, a figure lounges by a lotus pond idly admiring a brilliantly blooming flower. Yu Shikang Yu approaches and respectfully congratulates Yu Hao on the diamond evolution of the Luohe mystic leaf lotus after just over 2 years. Yu sighs coolly, noting its diamond skill is support-oriented rather than offensive, while Kang Yu reassures her of its rarity and plans to relocate it to the rear lotus pond. Yu nods, agreeing that placing the auspicious sky lotus in this garden would indeed be beneath its dignity. Changing the subject, Yu Ho sharply asks if Ling Xiao's founders competition has selected a candidate, and Kang Yu confirms a perfect scorer in all 3 lifestyle aura master exams. Reviewing the dossier, Yu Ho remarks that solving Elder Chust's difficult exam at just 18 and passing the Levelt test marks the candidate as a true genius. Kang Yu humbly states that although still inferior to Yu Hao, the youth is outstanding for this era and has already been summoned. Yu Ho, pleased with the candidate's clean background as the child of a fallen Junlingsai hero, praises Kang Yu for her excellent work. However, Kang Yu adds that the Wangdu Founders Guild has also nominated a young genius titled Feng Yang for Yu Hao's consideration. Yu raises an eyebrow skeptically, questioning whether such a grand title implies the young founder has reached the elusive 4-star level. She asserts that this is unlikely, and Kang Yu clarifies that Cheng Ri is currently a 2-star founder eligible for 3-star, with the title granted by 3 vice presidents as encouragement. The name Feng Yang, symbolizing a heaven-blessed radiant sun, carries expectations far beyond his current achievements. Yu lets out a cold chuckle, dismissing the title as mere decorative embellishment. Closing the file, she calmly concludes that Cheng Rui is simply a heavily cultivated talent of the guild. Kang Yu hesitantly explains that news of Yu Ho accepting a disciple has spread, and the guild's nomination and title are meant to attract attention. Gently brushing a lotus petal, Yu Hao agrees and decides to have Ling Xiao bring the Feng Yang candidate along with the others the next day. Somewhat reassured yet still hesitant, Kang Yu adds that Dean Wang also wishes to recommend a candidate who is both a founder and ranked 3rd on the 100 Sons list with the title Fu Hai. Yu Hu decisively waves her hand, ordering that all candidates be brought, eager to assess the current generation's caliber. Observing Yu Hao's composed demeanor, Kang Yu suspects she may already have a preferred choice, but acknowledges the need for personal confirmation. She then asks whether any specific tests should be prepared in advance. Anticipating the question, Yu Ho stands and calmly replies that no preparation is necessary. Instead, she emphasizes preparing a gift and instructs Kang Yu to accompany her to the cultivation room to properly greet the future disciple. Kang Yu is momentarily stunned, unable to hide her surprise. Back in the bustling Zing City, Ling Wu leads Lin Yuan through long corridors, informing him that the city lord awaits in the main hall, leaving Lin Yuan with growing suspicions about the gravity of the situation. As the oak doors swing open, Ling Xiao greets Lin Yuan warmly and reveals plans to dine before heading to Wangdu, leaving Lin Yuan startled. Before Lin Yuan can react, Ling Xiao claps twice to set things in motion. A swarm of tailors rushes in to measure and dress him, while Ling Xiao wonders if Ning Lao had informed him, only for Lin Yuan to admit he received only vague hints. A sudden realization dawns on Lin Yuan, and he stares at Ling Xiao in shock. Stammering, he guesses the trip involves the legendary trio, and Ling Xiao proudly confirms that Yu Hao wishes to meet him, leaving Lin Yuan utterly speechless. Ling Xiao briefly affirms this, noting that Yu Hao's true intentions are not for him to disclose. Feeling weightless with excitement, Lin Wen marvels at meeting a legendary 5-star founder and eagerly plans to brag to Shu, while Ling Xiao reminds him the opportunity depends on his own performance. The scene shifts swiftly to the majestic Spirit Q Academy in Wangdu. In a preparation room, Lin Tao steadies himself for an audience with the esteemed master, while a sleepy roommate questions whether intense training might affect his condition. Long Dao confidently declares that he is currently in peak form. His gaze falls on the new attire he wears, revealing slight discomfort at the necessity of such formal clothing. The elaborate preparations, nourishment, and new garments have clearly required considerable effort and expense. His friend reassures him that the spirit-infused outfit is standard protocol for meeting such an esteemed figure. With time running short, they decide it is time to depart. Leaving the city lord's residence, Ling Xiao summons a radiant sphere that reveals a magnificent blue jade winged heavenly horse with a resounding neigh. Lin Yuan is astonished, never expecting such a grand display from the outset. He asks in disbelief whether they will travel by riding the horse. Ling Xiao confirms that the blue jade heavenly horse is among the fastest flying spirit beasts and explains that teleportation arrays are quicker but too taxing for ordinary bodies. Before departure, Ling Xiao instructs his subordinates to oversee Zing City during his absence. The crowd responds in unison, bidding farewell to the lord of the main city. As the blue jade heavenly horse soars skyward, Lin Yuan marvels at its incredible speed and stability, while inquiring about the distance to Wangdu. Ling Xiao explains that Zijing lies in the central southern region of the Radiance Federation, making Wangdu just over a day's journey away, though reaching farther cities could take half a month. Lin Yuan admits his ignorance due to never leaving Zing City before. He then wonders if traveling straight across the sea would be faster than following the land's arc. Ling Xiao immediately rejects the idea, warning that one must never fly over the sea once possessing a flying spirit beast. With a faint smile, he suggests that witnessing the reason firsthand would be more convincing. He then redirects the blue jade heavenly horse toward the vast ocean. The terrifying sight of towering water columns and massive shadows beneath the dark waves chills Lin Yuan, revealing the presence of multiple black wild leviathans lurking below. Wondering if the sea was dominated by these creatures, Lin Yuan hears Ling Xiao confirm that post-spirit revival, oceans are the deadliest zones, where whale-like beasts can down flyers with lethal water pillars. Still hopeful, Lin Yuan asks whether detouring through deeper seas might be safer. Ling Xiao immediately rejects the idea, warning that the deep ocean harbors beings of mythical rank. The revelation of such terrifying marine spirit beasts sends chills down Lin Yuan's spine. Ling Xiao explains cautiously that after reaching legendary rank and merging with Heaven's Will runes, spirit beasts enter the fantasy rank, yet above it lies the mythical rank, each appearance akin to forging a new legend. Shocked, Lin Yuan realizes that what he once believed to be the ultimate fantasy rank is merely a stepping stone to an even higher existence. Even diamond-attributed fantasy creatures would tremble before mythical beings. Observing his reaction, Ling Xiao grows suspicious of his unusual knowledge and hints that becoming Yu Hao's disciple would bring him closer to the mythical realm. After all, Yiho herself is akin to a living legend. Noticing Lin Yuan's excitement, Ling Xiao warns that information about the mythical rank remains undisclosed, and asks about his understanding of the fantasy classification, to which he admits ignorance. She explains that the fantasy rank consists of 5 stages, each representing a major transformation, and that the blue jade heavenly horse is only at the first stage, astonishing Lin Yuan. Ling Xiao further advises that even founders should strengthen their personal combat abilities, and their discussion continues from nightfall until dawn. Concluding, she notes that comprehending will runes strengthens one's foundation, and Lin Yuan confidently asserts his belief in his own potential. She chuckles softly, reminding him that grasping such runes depends solely on innate comprehension and offers no shortcuts. Suddenly, she turns to see Lin Yuan with eyes closed as a faint rune forms on his forehead, leaving her utterly stunned. Witnessing him comprehend a rune merely while watching the sunrise fills her with admiration and unease, knowing the news could provoke envy if spread. Unbeknownst to her, Lin Yuan actually possesses more than one rune, a truth that would surely shatter her composure. Regaining calm, she explains that rune comprehension brings him closer to the fantasy rank and advises against evolving spirit beasts to fantasy while still at platinum if aiming for the 3rd stage. She adds that the optimal path to the 5th stage is elevating a spirit beast to legendary quality at gold rank. Otherwise, surpassing the 3rd stage would be nearly impossible without extraordinary fortune. Lin Yuan speculates whether advancing a bronze rank beast directly to legendary quality before evolving to fantasy could achieve the 5th stage, prompting Ling Xiao to remark on the immense difficulty of such a feat. She concludes that will runes are exceedingly rare, and even among the Federation's nurtured geniuses, most fail to reach the fantasy rank, becoming stalled at this formidable threshold. Lin Yuan senses he holds a rare path to power that few others could ever hope to reach. As they converse, the gleaming towers of Wangdu emerge on the distant horizon. Ling Xiao announces their arrival, and Lin Yuan stretches excitedly, thrilled to finally set foot in Wangdu. The scene shifts to Huiyu Hall atop the mountain, where Lin Yuan is awestruck by the magnificence of the dragon and phoenix carved gates. Marveling at the grandeur, Lin Yuan notices a tall, composed young man Long Tao of few high, ranked 3rd among the Radiant's 100 approaching. A sarcastic voice rings out, mockingly questioning why Lord Fu Hai isn't participating in the Radiant's 100 trials. The speaker is Cheng Rui, newly titled Feng Yang, who subtly sizes up Long Tao while remaining wary yet unwilling to back down. Unfazed, Long Tao responds with a dismissive chuckle, rejecting insincere honorifics and disdainful of such pretenses. Turning to Elder Du, Long Tao pointedly questions why a mere 2-star founder like Cheng Rui received a title while he had not, then strides past with a provocative glance. Elder Du awkwardly attempts to smooth things over, insisting that Cheng Rui truly possesses the merit for the title. Long Tao casually reveals he has recently passed the 3-star founder assessment in Longcheng, further embarrassing Elder Du. Cheng Rui's expression darkens, his veins bulge, his anger barely contained. Sensing the tension, Elder Meng intervenes, reminding Long Tao that Cheng Rui's grandfather is a vice president of the Founders Guild, deserving some consideration. Shrugging, Long Tao coolly states that even if offered a title now, he would refuse it, preferring to earn one worthy of himself upon reaching 4-star founder status. These words ignite Cheng Rui's fury, and he vows inwardly that in the upcoming disciple selection where the master's decision is final, any obstacle, including Long Tao, must be eliminated.